come to give you what you love. It's time to give you what you love. I'ma give you what you love. Give you what you love.
Well. Good afternoon. Lord, you are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, or if you're watching me on WURD TV or YouTube TV, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and I am your host on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 1 to 4 p.m. Let me apologize to all of you, first of all, for the late start. In order for Michael and I to get moving in the studio, we have to wait until the previous radio show hosts and their team move out, and so we can get started. So maybe they ran a little bit longer today. I'm not quite sure. But that's why we're just now starting the show. I don't want you to think that we're tardy, because I have high expectations of my producer and myself, and we get started on time every single day where possible. So good afternoon to all of you. It is still Black History Month. We have all sorts of things to discuss today. The 2 o'clock hour is laid out for the WURD listeners. I am, I haven't had much time to do a bunch of research on some things, but I have a great guest that's coming on around the 3 o'clock hour to talk to you all about vaccination. She's a doctor who did not want to be vaccinated, right? And so she and I are going to have a great conversation around that piece and where she is today as a direct result of doing her own research. We have the Reverend Dr. Alan E. Waller on at 1:20, and I have a bunch of questions for him. But come on, let's get started with our Black History facts, right? Because it's still Black History. And why am I having a hot flash? Black History all day, every day. Yes, I only just look young. So I have to start with John Chaney, who the players lined up to say goodbye to him yesterday at the Leocora Center. They had an open casket with him at the Leocora Center yesterday. And so he is going to be our first Black History Facts today. I'm going to read an article about him that was written by Mike Kern on January 29th, 2021. He says, when the subject is John Chaney, where do you start? He just turned 87, and it says up here that he died. The story was originally published on February 22nd, 2019. They just updated it to say that he died. He just turned 87, so he deals with his share of issues just like most people at that age. But he survives just like he always has. The worst thing about getting old, he says, is that all the people you knew die. So you have to make new friends. Yet, he still has a presence, even though he coached his last game 13 years ago, especially among the many people whom he has had an impact on throughout his lifetime. His story needs to be told the correct way, said Aaron McKee, who played for him a quarter a century ago, and the next season will succeed Fran Dunphy, the man who succeeded Chaney at Temple, to only becoming the 5th Owls basketball coach since 1952. Chaney said that might be the thing he's most proud of, and if you know the man, you understand that's a bold statement. He was one of us, McKee said. He would fight for injustice and for providing opportunities. He was a voice for so many things. In life, you have to have someone take a chance on you, and you have to be willing to follow their lead. That was Coach Chaney. Let's see. That's how we got out of our circumstances of growing up with one parent or even no parent at all. In the inner city, if you start listening to the wrong people, bad things can happen. He was etched in our society. Good afternoon, Malcolm. You're a little late today. I was wondering what happened to you. I see you and Vicky on Facebook. So good afternoon to the both of you. All the coaches I played for were disciples of Coach John Chaney. Bill Ellerby at Simon Gratz High School, John Hartnett in the summer. That's pretty much all we knew growing up in North Philadelphia. He was bigger than life. When I got to the NBA, McKee says, all the guys wanted to ask me about Coach Chaney. He was such a polarizing figure, charismatic, well-spoken, blue-collar, hard-working man. Yet he was humble. He spoke his mind, but I think people had a great deal of respect for him because he spoke the truth. He was all of that and more, but he made mistakes, and the message sometimes got lost in the translation. As Rick Brunson, one of McKee's Temple teammates, once put it, you can't listen to the way Cheney says something. You have to pay attention to the words. That's what matters. So today he was, he's laid in rest yesterday, and the players are going back and forth, and I'm sure from all the players that he's coached over the decades have shown up. He's lying in state at Leo Corus Center right now. They may have moved him by now, but he's been lying in state, and they showed up to pay his respects. And so, what is your dash going to be? I've asked people this 1,000 times. When we sit here and we do the things that we do, what will people say about you when you leave here? Clearly, John Cheney made an impact in his life in his 89 years that he was here. And so, we just want to make sure. I am aware, very aware, that the second impeachment hearing of Donald Trump is going on as we speak. I have not had an opportunity to watch any of it, so I'm sure I'll catch up on it a little bit later. I have been in training since 7:45 this morning and only just slid into my chair so that I could do the radio show at 1 p.m. So I'm going to do a little bit of reading about Donald Trump too, but I'm giving my black people their due while we're on the air, because it's Black History Month, and Donald Trump and all the stuff that's going on is still going to be there, because I want you all to be aware that the things that he's done in the last 4 years as president, and even before he became president, are things that are going to impact our lifespan way long past when he's dead and gone from here. This is why our decisions matter, and this is why elections matter, and this is why whoever we choose to put into office matters, right? Like him or not. There are people who love Donald Trump. There are people who thought he was a polarizing figure. But the elections matter, and I want us to pay attention to that. Now I'm going back to someone who is local, and I loved her. Dawn Staley. Dawn Michelle Staley, born May 4th, 1970, is an American basketball Hall of Fame player and coach. Staley is a 3-time Olympic gold medalist and was elected to carry the United States flag at the opening ceremony of the 2004 Summer Olympics. After playing point guard for the University of Virginia under Debbie Ryan and winning the gold medal at the 1996 Summer Olympics, she went to play professionally in the American Basketball League and the WNBA. In 2011, Staley was voted in by fans as one of the top 15 players in WNBA history. Staley was inducted into the Basketball Women's Hall of Fame in 2012. She was elected to the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame in 2013. While still an WNBA player, she started coaching the Temple University Owls women basketball team in 2000. In 8 years at Temple, she led the program to 6 NCAA tournaments, 3 regular season conference championships, and 4 conference tournament titles. On May 7th, 2008, she was named head coach for women's basketball at the University of South Carolina. Over the following 6 seasons, she improved her program's record every year up to winning the SEC in 2013-2014. In late 2014, her team achieved the program's first #1 ranking, making her only the second individual to both play on and coach a #1 ranked team. Staley has gone on to lead South Carolina's to 5 SEC regular seasons championships, 5 SEC tournament championships, 6 Sweet 16s, 2 Final Fours, and on April 2nd, 2017, she guided the South Carolina Gamecocks to the program's first NCAA Women's Basketball National Championship. On March 10th, 2017, she was named head coach of the USA national team. On April 2nd, 2020, Staley became the first person to win the Naismith Award as a player and also as a coach. She also won other 3 major National Coach of the Year awards after she led her team to a 32-win season and a final ranking of #1 in both major polls before the tournament was canceled. She was awesome. So this is good. We're talking about black folks who have made a difference in locally and nationally. The one I want to read about nationally just passed away yesterday. Mary Wilson, a founding member of the Supremes, the trailblazing group from the 1960s that spun up a dozen #1 singles on the musical charts and was key to Motown's legendary sound, died yesterday, Monday, at her home in Henderson, Nevada. She was 76 years old. Talk about making your dash count. Miss Wilson's death was confirmed by her publicist, Jay Schwartz. No cause of death was given. Formed in Detroit as the Primettes in 1959, the Supremes originally included Florence Ballard and Diana Ross and released a string of hits in the early 1960s like Baby Love and Stop in the Name of Love. Hey, Michael, when we go out on our first break, can you do a little bit of Baby Love for me? I love that song. Berry Gordy, the founder of Motown, said in a statement that the Supremes had opened doors for other Motown acts. I was always proud of Mary, Mr. Gordy said. She was quite a star in her own right and over the years continued to work hard to boost the legacy of the Supremes. Miss Wilson, who grew up in the Brewster Douglas projects in Detroit, had been a singer in her childhood. Milton Jenkins, who in 1959 was the manager of the Primes, a male singing group, moved to form a female version of the act. Betty McGowan, who was first to join, then became Miss Ballard, who invited Miss Wilson, and Miss Ross was the fourth. To get Mr. Gordy's attention, they frequented the Hitsville, USA recording studio after school, and they were eventually signed by the record executive. The group later changed its name from the Primettes to the Supremes and became a trio in 1962. If you have not had the opportunity to visit Hitsville, USA recording studio, you should. You know, most people are not flying right now, but you can drive to Detroit, Michigan. It's about a 12-hour drive, 9 to 12, somewhere in there. And go see it if they have it open, even if it's just to go outside. That studio was so small, but it pumped out so many great hits and created so many acts over the years and so many millionaires, right? And some of these songs were still playing today, songs before I was born. Although the Supremes faced difficulties in reaching success in early stages in their careers, their song, When the Love Light Starts Shining Through His Eyes, peaked at number 23 on the Billboard pop chart in 1963. Then came 5 consecutive #1 singles, Where Did Our Love Go? Baby Love, Come See About Me, and Stop in the Name of Love, and Back in My Arms Again. Yes, honey. Oh, my father used to sing all those songs, and I would swing around with the mop in the house. The music of the Supremes emerged during an era of tension and upheaval in the United States. In 1963, civil rights demonstrators convened on Birmingham, Alabama. 250,000 people marched on Washington to hear leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and President President John F. Kennedy was assassinated. Through the turbulence, the Supremes seemed to find fans everywhere. They were extraordinarily popular with white audiences, black audiences, and everyone else, said Dolores Barkley, an author and adjunct professor at the Columbia University Graduate School of Journalism, who collaborated with Miss Ross on the singer's memoir. Appearing in white venues was breaking down racial barriers, she said, but it's a different type of disruption. It's the non-confrontational one. If having a platform and saying, yes, we are here, we are great, it's having a platform and saying, yes, we are here, we are great, and we are part of American music. The Supremes transcend adolescence without repudiating it, an article in the New York Times read in 1967 adding, their audience spans ages and taste barriers. But as Miss Wilson wrote in her 1986 autobiography, Dream Girl, My Life as a Supreme, why am I doing that? Sometimes casting a negative light on Miss Ross, there was a friction in the group. Diane always liked to be the center of attraction, Miss Wilson told People magazine in 1986. If you happened to be in her way while she was going toward the center, that was your fault. The strains in their relationship appeared in public again in 2000 when Miss Wilson and Miss Birdsong did not join a Supremes reunion tour, saying that they were offered much less than Miss Ross. My biggest desire and dream is that Diane and I are together again, Miss Wilson said on CBS that year. First of all, it's a friendship thing for me. Ms. Ross said on Twitter on Tuesday that she had many wonderful memories with Ms. Wilson. The Supreme will live on in our hearts, she says. And there's a picture of the two of them. Ms. Wilson remained in the spotlight in recent years, competing on Dancing with the Stars in 2019 and releasing a fourth book, Supreme Glamour, a collection of the Supreme's most dazzling gowns. Our glamour changed things, she said at the time. What we wore mattered. The influence of the Supremes had on Black girls and women across America in the 1960s was undeniable. You never saw anything like it in the 1960s. 3 women of color who were totally empowered, creative, imaginative. Oprah Winfrey was quoted as saying in Diana Ross' biography by J. Randy Taraborelli. As a 10-year-old Black girl, she said, to see the Supremes and know that it was possible to be like them, that Black people could do that. And the Supremes have influenced countless musical acts and the girl groups like Destiny's Child, En Vogue, and SWV, many of them borrowing from their playbook and producing pop stars in their own right. We, the Supremes, can't take all the credit, Ms. Wilson told The Guardian in 2019. The writers and producers at Motown gave us the music and sound that people loved. And then there was the glamour. My whole life is like a dream, I tell you. If it were not a Supreme, I would want to be a Supreme. Love that. Love that about her. Rest in peace, Miss Mary Wilson, an original member of the Supremes who died yesterday in Nevada at the age of 76. WURD is committed to keeping Black history alive and ensuring that our voices are heard. Each February, we honor Black history, and each day we are committed to making Black history. WURD is the only Black-owned and operated station in Pennsylvania. We serve our community by providing information to educate, uplift, and inspire our listeners. Make your mark in Black history now. Join or renew your Forward membership today. Go to our website and leave your mark. And let us know your favorite show by selecting the name of the show at checkout. Please visit wordradio.com/join now for more information. The code word for my show is Andrea, A-N-D-R-E-A. Good afternoon, Gary Bryant and Malcolm White and Joey Dixon and Sandra Barton and Charlotte Greer. And wow, you're all here. Good afternoon, Vicki. I'm so happy to see all of you. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on wordradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Attention WURD audience, do you know that you can get help with your PICO energy bill? PICO is here to help you with financial help through various assistance programs, including the PICO CAP program, which provides a monthly credit for eligible low-income customers based on the customer's total household gross income and energy usage. If you are experiencing financial hardship, you may qualify for the PICO CAP program.
And PICO Cares is the customer assistance and referral evaluation service designed to assist special needs, low-income customers who have a temporary personal or financial hardship that prevents the payment of your PICO energy bill. If you have a special needs child or adult in your care, your household may qualify for the CARES program.
Call 1-800-774-7040 today to see if you qualify due to an existing situation or a change in circumstances within your household. Call 1-800-774-7040 today for more information on the PICO CAP or PICO CARES program. PICO, powering our communities.
Did you know you can catch the flu and COVID-19 at the same time or even back to back? Don't risk catching the flu during the COVID-19 pandemic. The flu shot is a safe and effective way of reducing your chances of catching the flu or spreading it to others. And the flu shot helps protect you and your community from the worst effects of the flu. Don't say, I should have got my flu shot. Call your doctor or visit your pharmacist and get your flu shot today.
Family Therapy Vignette Moments with Dr. Lucille Ijoy.
Intimacy and truth during pandemic times. The 4 kinds of love: sex, eros, philia, agape. The 3 ways to say I love you: information, intimacy, behavior. Information, intimacy, behavior. Remember, this is a pandemic time for the world. It's time to gather around and be truthful and real and honest and joyful. Hold hands and smile, for goodness sake. Don't forget the children, the teenagers, the older generations. Music and dance time is anytime, even if you hum or do the electric slide. Blessed assurance. I sing because I'm happy, Sam Cooke. Shake, or the Jackson 5. I gotta be starting something. Yes, dancing is allowed during pandemic times. Oh, happy day.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. It seems I have a caller on the line that I was looking for yesterday. Commissioner Sabir, are you there?
I'm here.
Mm-hmm. Did you hear me
It was
fussing you out?
yesterday. I apologize. I was told Tuesday. That's what I was told. But I apologize.
What's going on, sir? Your people put you on my calendar. What is it that you needed to say to us?
Hey, listen, I just want everyone to know that we have an important election coming up on May the 18th. It's very important. And right now, we have to start putting that date and ingrain it in the people's head. There are a lot of our constituents that walk around that think that there's only elections on every 4 years. And so we have to, let everyone know that there's an election every 6 months, and it's very important that you have to still get registered to vote. And also in Pennsylvania, we have a closed primary. So that means that if you're an independent, then you're not going to be able to vote for a candidate in the upcoming primary.
Okay.
That's very important because some people feel a little bit disenfranchised or discouraged, where they may be registered as an independent, they walk into the voting booth, and they don't see any candidates on the ballot. They think it's a conspiracy theories. But Pennsylvania is a closed primary, so that means you have to get registered to be a Democrat, and you have up to May the 3rd to register before the primary. And I just wanted to put some of those dates out there. And also on February the 16th is the first day where you can circulate and file your nominating petitions. So that means if anyone has a dream or an aspiration of running for office in Pennsylvania, February the 16th is the first date that you have to do your petitions.
Okay. All right. So I'm just thinking, you're saying that the primaries are closed. So if you're independent, you can't vote for anyone. But if you have until May 3rd to register as either a Democrat or a Republican, if you want to vote in these primaries, right? And on February 16th, anyone who wants to run for any position can file for a position, right? File to run, correct?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So that was the thing. Someone just said, please ask the commissioner which offices are primary. Which ones are people running for this year? What offices are up for re-election?
Okay, so we have all of our judges, local and state. We have the municipal court. We have the Court of Common Pleas. We have the Superior Court. We have the Commonwealth Court, and we have the Supreme Court. And those are all the judges that's going to be on the ballot. We also have the district attorney is up. We also have the city controller is up. So again, they are very important elections, as you know. With our current homicide rate that's going on, the district attorney is the one that
62 people in 39 days. Pastor Waller is on the line. I can't wait to talk to him about this, about what we need to do moving forward. My last question for you is this. Because we're still in a pandemic, can people still register to, get an absentee ballot if they don't want to go to the voting booth? Or is that changed now?
No. So, so if you want to go to votesva.com, you can apply for your vote by mail application. That's Act 77. So that was brought into law by the legislator. So that hasn't changed. So whether it's a pandemic or not, you're going to be able to vote by mail.
Okay, good. Thank you so much. All right. Now, listen to me. As we get closer to the elections, I'd like to be able to speak to somebody from the commission's office at least once a week, right? So we can continue to talk about these things and continue to feed people and let them know exactly what is coming up, what's necessary for them, how do we reach folks so that we can get as many people as possible to vote in the primaries. And I thank you for calling in, okay?
Sure. Anytime I'm there, remember, the more you vote, the more you get.
That's right. You got that right. All right. All right. Thank you so much. All right. Bye-bye. All right. Moving right along. Reverend Dr. Alan E. Waller is the senior pastor of the Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Highly sought after revivalist, vocalist, and lecturer. He can sing, y'all. Lord, I don't ever say this, but ooh, he can sing. Dr. Waller is a true visionary of the church and the community who serves humanity far beyond the restraints of traditionalism. His partner in marriage and ministry is Dr. Ellen Jo Waller, the leader of Enon's women's ministry and a devoted mother to their two daughters, Ellen Morgan and Erica Lynn. Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
Ooh, I got a bunch of questions for you. I'm good, though.
And I'm grateful that the beer was just on, and I want to just underscore, we really need to recognize the importance of showing up for this election, even though it's a primary. You know, the average person is going to have to deal with a judge before they'll ever meet the president, before they'll ever bump into something that the mayor does. We deal with judges and their jurisdiction more almost than any other elected official. And so the judges have to do with our issues surrounding gerrymandering, issues around voting, issues around, surrounding statewide elections. So it is very, very important. If you find yourself in trouble and got to go, you're going to go before a judge. It would be better for us to have people on that side of the discussion that look like us and that have an understanding of our community. So I think it's very important for people to recognize you can't just hang up your voter registration card until the next time to vote for Kamala.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. And that those judgeships are so important because they carry so much power and they can change your life in a myriad of ways, right? And so last week I asked this question. I've had now a couple of people on that are either judges or running for a seat as a judge in Montgomery or Philadelphia County. And I've asked this question: where can we find the people who are running for judge so that we would learn more about them? And I got a varying degrees of answers around, well, you may not know, and they may put it up on their pages. Why don't we have a centralized location for people who are running for office, especially judges, and that has an in-depth report about who they are, why they're running, what are they running on, what are the accomplishments that they've had, what are their leadership skills, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Am I making sense, Pastor Waller?
Yeah, you are, and that's what groups like the Democratic Party and the Committee of 70, and that's what all of these other political types are supposed to do for their constituency, help people know who's running and why they're running and where they point. That's certainly not a thing that I would be doing. I'm not out here to candidate for someone per se. And that's not our job. But it is my job to remind people you got to get involved. You got to know. And I do know that right now they're going through the process. These next couple of weeks are the time that the would-be candidates are vying for party
votes,
affiliation, and vying for the nod. So in the next couple of weeks, we should be hearing something from the Democratic Party around who they suggest that you vote for. And that doesn't mean you have to vote for them, but you'll begin that. I know that the black clergy, which is the political arm of the clergy, will at some point later in this early spring, late winter, put out a recommendation for all the persons that are running. And so I do know that much.
Oh, I didn't realize that the black clergy had a political arm that would give recommendation for folks. What do you...
Yeah, that's what the black clergy... So you have different clergy organizations that are for the development of clergy, but then the organization called Black Clergy is the political arm of the clergy. So you got the AMEs, you got the Baptists, you got the Pentecostals, but then the organization called Black Clergy are all of them coming together expressly. It was started during the teacher strike almost 40 years ago. Okay. And they get together expressly to address political issues.
Okay. I'm glad I asked you for clarity because, you know, someone will invariably call and say pastors should not get involved in the process of politics. So I'm glad you clarified that so that people understand that it's an arm of it, and these people are doing specifically this work to give people an idea of what's going on out here.
That's right.
So, all right. Okay. So moving on from the election primaries and the importance of it. Today is the first day of the second impeachment hearing of Donald Trump. Yeah. When I first got on the air, I said to folks, listen, the things that have happened in the last 4 years and before Donald Trump became president will be impacting us for a long, long time. What do you think is, in your humble estimation, what do you think is happening, will be happening with this? Do you think he will be impeached? What should people be looking for as much as you can as it applies to this? Because folks are riveted to their television about it.
Yeah, the sad reality is you've got people who are so bought and sold by the Trump machinery and who want to inherit his people, that they are not going to, even though they know he's wrong, they know he did it, they are not going to go against him because they want to inherit his supporters. And that's what all of this is about. They want his money and his supporters. And until someone stands up with some backbone, we probably won't see anything different than those 10 or 12 Republicans that were willing to go against him, against him again. I mean, it's horrendous. I'm ashamed of my white Christian brothers because they need to be, and sisters, they need to be up in arms because they make up a big part of his base and is giving Christianity a black eye in America because of how they are just overlooking the obvious. But I think that what we're going to see on the front end of this is them make a lot about the constitutionality of the impeachment so that they don't have to get into the substance of it. And so many of them are going to land there saying that, yes, he was wrong, but this is unconstitutional, so we can't do it.
And why would they say it's unconstitutional? He was impeached before he came out of office. It was the Republican, Mitch McConnell, who dragged his feet.
That's right.
See, that's right. All those things make a difference.
It's clear. I mean, it's clear that there is precedence for it. It is clear that he did it. It is clear. And now they're going to have to figure out how do you can't let everybody off. So you either have to go hard on the president and go easy on the ignorant people that followed him, or go hard on the people that followed him and go easy on him. But they're not going to be able to do what they seemingly want to do, is go easy on both. And that's just not going to work. So we're up for another 2 or 3 years of fighting and civil war until somebody does right.
Yes, agreed. Yeah. And I think a lot of people still aren't quite understanding when we say that, the fighting and the civil war, and it's ramping up too, you know, but sometimes folks have to see it to believe it. All right, I'm going to move on a little bit, and let's talk about vaccination updates. In the national news recently, there were these dismal numbers that says of the amount of vaccines that have been released, only 5% of people of color nationally have gotten the vaccine versus 60+% of white folks. Locally here in Philadelphia, we're having similar issues. It's about 15-16%. To what end can we support folks like the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium to get the vaccines in the hands of people who are seeking it? Because what they're saying is, and they're using it as an excuse at this point, I believe, is that the black and brown folks don't want the vaccinations. But I see to the contrary, Pastor Waller, many black and brown folks, they're calling me. How can I can't skip a line for you. I don't know what to do. So what advice do you have, about what's going on in the city?
That's old media. I mean, there was a period of time where hesitancy in general was vaccine, and black hesitancy was an issue
breaking up, Pastor
there is
Wally.
not-
You're breaking up.
Are you there?
Yes, I'm here now. Yes.
There was a period where hesitancy was the issue, but right now, hesitancy is not the issue. Supply is the issue. So black hesitancy is no longer the thing to talk about. Black people want this vaccine. The reality is that there's just not enough vaccine being sent down through all of the channels. So we're working with everybody. I've worked with Jefferson and willing to work with Einstein and working with the black doctors, period. And so what's going on now is an issue of supply. The black doctors have about 4,000 vaccines per week that they can get rid of. And that's just real. And you got way more than 4,000 people per week who want it.
That's right.
And so we're trying to, so I would encourage people to follow the guidelines. That is, if you have to sign up for something, sign up for it, get in line, and then kind of, wait your time to get it. But it's a mess. And some of this mess goes back to, if we'll remember, when the Trump administration was still in, they had the opportunity to buy millions, and they didn't buy the millions that others have purchased around the world. And so there is a shortage. In Pennsylvania, you've got different supply channels. Philadelphia gets theirs differently than Montgomery County gets theirs. So that's why you'll see some people, so Dr. Ayla is for Philadelphia County. And so you've got different supply chains and different approaches to it. And some of this is a mess that was set up before. Some of this is a mess that's been set up by our own local government because of the debacle with who got the contract from the very beginning. And so I don't even want to use the term comedy because it's not funny, but it's like a comedy of errors that have hit this thing. And in a time when we need everything to run right,
it all seems to be going left. Yes. Yeah. All seems to be going left. Hold on one second for me, please. Let me take a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk about how we fix this comedy of errors, starting with voting, right? Hold on one second, please. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Hi, it's me, Gia Peppers. Tune in to More Than That with me live this weekend, or catch the show wherever you listen to podcasts. This week, I'm talking to Anthony Sparks, showrunner and executive producer of the OWN network sensation, Queen Sugar. More Than That is brought to you by General Motors. Visit GM.com for more on their commitment to becoming the most inclusive company in the world. Everybody in. We just experienced one of the most unprecedented, insane years ever. During the quarantine, you decided to rip up the completed script of season 5 and write a completely new storyline to better reflect the Black experience.
Well, I got to give credit where credit is due. So the creator of the show, the wonderful Ava DuVernay, is the one who actually sort of started those conversations. And I literally was holed up in a corner in my backyard rewriting.
How many hours of sleep did you lose?
It was a lot. Yeah, I sort of knew that we were going to have a conversation about what are we going to do with the season. When we stopped down, we were in the middle of the second episode of the original season 5 and the storylines that we had. And then the world turned upside down and imploded, right? Both with the pandemic and with the racial reckoning. And then, it's an election year. It just became clear that if there was any show on television that was going to think about how to address, not just in a very special episode, but like literally sort of put our cast of characters in this moment, we felt it was Queen Sugar. And so Ava in the studio came to me and was like, do you think that you can do this and do it quickly and do it with less staff? I think Black people are basically a walking miracle because we'd already spent all the money on the original season 5.
Recovery starts with a call. Pennsylvania's Substance Use Disorder Hotline is staffed by real people who are trained to help. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll get you or your loved one into treatment regardless of your access to insurance. If you or someone you know is suffering from addiction, call 1-800-662-HELP. Recovery starts with a call.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
WURD Radio is independent black media. And we're able to stay independent because of our forward movement and members like you.
Treat yourself to the treat of buying a WURD membership. It's less than a quarter a day. That's less than a bag of chips. And we really, truly need to keep this platform going so that we can stay connected as we reimagine our community in 2021.
Start or renew your forward membership today at wordradio.com/forward or call 215-425-7875. WURD Radio. Independent black media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on wordradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, I have on the line with me the Reverend Dr. Alan E. Waller, who is the senior pastor of the Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church in Philadelphia. Reverend Waller, when we last spoke, we went to break, we were talking about the comedy of errors that are happening here in Philadelphia and what can happen as a direct result for the people who are here. We now have the 62nd murder in 32 days, something crazy like that. We have, I spoke to City Controller Rebecca Reinhardt, who very openly spoke of the fact that she wanted to audit certain places like the PPA, the Parking Authority, the School District of Philadelphia to see where all the funding was going. Why are we just, soaking money up and nothing is happening from it? And she, openly said she had her hand slapped. That's not for you to do. And so what do we do when we have people who are in the city who want to do their jobs, who want to work with fidelity, who were brought into office through our votes and are being subjugated and told that they can't do and they mustn't do and stomped on and shut down at every level? How do we weed out these folks that are not doing the right things? I don't know what else to say, Pastor Waller. It just seems like we're stuck in this vortex of foolishness, and there has to be a way. And the goal for me here is to make sure we use this platform and our voices to encourage and motivate and empower people to step up and say enough. Do you think, based on what you're seeing, are we able to? Because it feels so untenable right now.
Yeah, no, we're able, and I think that everybody just has to do their job. You and I have the platform to raise relevant questions and issues because we have a platform. I'm in the pulpit, you're on the radio, and usually you and I reach a lot of people. And so we have the responsibility of raising the right questions and pointing in the right direction, at least pointing true north.
Yes.
And then if we point true north with a compelling argument, then everybody that shares our theology, philosophy, and approach to life will then go towards true north in their particular discipline. Because it's a multifaceted problem. Not one place can fix this. And I think that's the issue. We tend to want to have a singular issue. If you just fix the family, if you just fix the schools, if you just fix policing. But the problem of our society is multidisciplinary. And so that means all of us in our areas have to focus more on what we bring to the table and then meet up with others who have a commitment to true north. And so we need better fiscal policy by those who handle the money. We need better education by those who handle education. We need more fidelity in religious thought by those who lift up religious thought and live faithful lives. We need a better understanding of the infrastructure And so we have to find our like spirits all over the place and begin to work together across cultural lines, across theological lines, and for the good of the city.
Agreed.
And,
I absolutely
and some of us have to believe that it still can work. Part of that is just believing that it's not hopeless. And I think that's a big part of your job and my job. I don't believe it's hopeless. I believe it's hard.
Yes. As my husband would say, it's not difficult, it's challenging. Words matter, right? And
That's
so
right.
on the
That's
day,
right.
the days when I'm looking and I'm turning my head and I'm spinning and I'm going, what in the Sam Hill? I always have to remember to keep focus. So for instance, there has been great conversation about the reopening of schools from pre-K to second grade in the Philadelphia School District. And I see all this conversation about the superintendent has to go and this one has to go and it's the parents' fault. And I'm looking at this from a multifaceted view. And I began having a series of conversations. So I'm doing my research now, having a series of conversations with people at 440, right, who are saying that there are folks within their midst who are not doing their work, telling Dr. Height, you know, such and such and such, and he looks like he has egg on his face because they're not doing their jobs. But those people have been found safe. And what I have said to those folks who have been talking to me is this: you must raise your voice, even if you feel uncomfortable, because at the end of the day, we're talking about the lives of children, right? And so to regain the public trust and the family trust in the Philadelphia School District, people are going to have to start holding themselves accountable, or people within the system are going to have to start holding the people who are not accountable, and we are going to be able to raise our voices for them, right? So we've been doing that piece. And then we've been talking about the fact that, you know, the teachers, they wanted to be vaccinated. The Children's Hospital of Philadelphia came out right as I was on the air yesterday and said they are committed to vaccinating every teacher, every aide, every lunch personnel, all of that, right? I want to see now that they're saying this, what are the other things that the teachers are going to need? I would also like to see more transparency between the union, the Teachers Union of Philadelphia, and the school district themselves, so that the families can see more open conversations, so that the families can see, and the community can see exactly what's going on here. 33% of our third graders can read. 33%. And we have, and according to another recent article that came out, 52% of adults in Philadelphia are functional illiterate. Come on, sir. So when you talk about multifaceted, we have a ton of work to do.
That's right. And again, for those of us who are in the public square, half of what we have to do is believe it can be done.
Yes.
You and I have to be very careful that we don't become the people who so doubt in the possibility of getting better. And so we have to live in the tension of critiquing the president's ideology, speaking truth to power, but believing, and I do, I believe in the possibilities of this city and want to be a part of solution and not just what's wrong. And that means, you know, us doing what we do to the best of our ability.
Agreed. All right. So here is I have two more questions for you. One of them is Senator Hughes last week spoke of funding, rental assistance funding for the folks in the community. What role can your group as community leaders play in helping people to apply for this funding for rental assistance and for their businesses? What role can we play as community leaders in that? Because oftentimes Black and brown folks miss out because they don't know exactly where to turn, who to ask the questions, and sometimes it's a little bit of pride, right? I don't want people to know what I don't know. So do you have anything in place to support and help people to apply for these things?
The only thing that we can do is recapitulate what the politicians send down. So Vincent Hughes does the best job, I think, of getting information back into the community. He has a breakfast that he does for pastors that happens pretty much on a monthly basis, and then he gets the stuff. We take it from him and put it out in the community so that people can know what's available to them. There's a lot of help out there that you're right, people just don't know about. So what we can do is continue to tell people about what's there for them and facilitate them getting connected to it by use of our platforms and so forth. But I think you know, that's what we can do, tell people that it's there. and then people have to take advantage of that and be willing to go through process to get it. Yeah.
All right. So, and for those who are not in church, which is why this platform, this radio show is so important.
That's right.
Because we feed them all kinds of great information. My last question before I say goodbye until next week. What advice do you have for people who are chafing to return to the church building despite what's happening out here?
Well, I think, again, the church is more than the building. I love going to church and can't wait till we get back there, but not at the cost of people continuing to get sick. I believe that we're gonna all have to get used to a new norm and new reality even when we go back. So what you will probably find is that Enon will be one of the slower returns, because I think that people have to manage their life first, and I as a pastor need to be more concerned that members of my church know where they're working, know where their children are going to school, know how they're living in a new reality, and balance that, and not have to balance, how do I get to church? Do I get to Bible study? If I can make that easy for them for now, that's what I need to do. And then when it's safe, then we'll all come on back, because church is not canceled. I know it's not best online, but it's next to best. And so I would encourage people, let's hang on. The only way we're really going to get out of this thing is everybody sit down for a minute, get vaccinated, learn to live in a new masked reality for the next couple of years, and get glad with it. And then let's move back in. I'm expecting that sometime in September, October maybe, we'll be able to start in a limited way with masks on, come back, and I'll be looking forward to it. But until that time, we're going to try to be as faithful as we can to this process, do ministry in a way that is meaningful in this moment, and think about the other person more than yourself. And if I think about the other person, which is at the root of whatever your religion is, do unto others. So I need to be thinking about, how do I put my neighbor at risk when I'm exercising my right to be outside?
Yes, yes. Oh, man. Reverend Dr. Alan E. Wallace, Senior Pastor of the Enon Tabernacle Baptist Church in Philadelphia, thank you again for another good segment. I will talk to you, God's willing, next week, Tuesday, okay?
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hey.
All right. You are listening. I don't know why I have no voice, because I've been working all day. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. The next hour belongs to the WURD listeners. George, Prince, all of you. If you want to call in, this will be your time. If you are listening to the sound of my voice, I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Clark Roofing salutes Black History Month with over 30 years of quality roofing experience, providing exceptional customer service, honesty, and professionalism. For service, call 215-365-ROOF. That's 215-365-7663.
I'm Anthony McLaughlin. Been denied insurance? Call 888-307-0505. Life insurance, age 0 to 85, no examination needed. Homeowners insurance, any home, any condition, same-day coverage. 888-307-0505. Auto insurance, we can have you covered in 15 minutes. Business insurance, call 24 hours a day, 888-307-0505. I'm Anthony McLaughlin. When you need insurance, I can help.
Your child deserves to be educated in a safe and supportive learning environment. Southwest Leadership Academy Charter School, a tuition-free public school, is accepting applications for the 2021-2022 school year. SLAC's 2 locations offer single-gender classrooms in a dual-gender environment. Kindergarten and first-grade classrooms have a 15-to-1 student-teacher ratio. Students learn music, art, and fitness. Southwest Leadership educates the whole child, preparing students to become leaders. slacks-phila.org, Instagram at Southwest Leadership Academy, or email info@slacks-phila.org.
Words from our past. Word Radio celebrates the powerful voices of Black history. Malcolm X.
We have to go to the cause. Dealing with the condition itself is not enough. And it is because of our effort toward getting straight to the root that people oftentimes think we're dealing in hate. We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights. So the only way we're going to get some of this oppression and exploitation away from us is come together against the common enemy.
Words from our past, exclusively on Word Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, I just had my weekly conversation with the Reverend Dr. Alan E. Waller, and I'm struck with this after getting off the line with him just now. We are in a time where we can't be mealy-mouthed or piecemealing what we do as leaders. We have to come together as community members, as community leaders, and start speaking truth to power, not truth to what would line my pocket, not truth to what will make other people feel better around me, not truth to, my ego, but truth to power, truth to the point where we're going to be able to help others and not just ourselves. It is not a comfortable place to be in, but it is one where I told a friend of mine this morning, where history, you will fall on the right side of history. You just heard a speech from, what is his name? Malcolm X, right? Who talk about who was able to change his mind and change his position and working towards, with groups of people to get where we need to go. Some folks, the young people call it respectability politics. I call it being afraid to shake the system, afraid to shake the status quo. And so you stay stuck, right, in following along and going along. And I see too many of my people getting caught up in what pearls are we wearing, what organizations do we belong to, the kind of houses we live in, the kind of cars we drive, while the people we're supposed to be serving around us are falling apart and dying every single day. And I still don't understand how we're able to go to sleep being cute as a button and getting absolutely no work done. And so it's time for us to start shaking the hornet's nest, right? And start uprooting people out of those comfortable positions so that we can get what is rightfully ours on behalf of our children. This city is in crisis. I don't know any other way to say it, right? And we cannot continue, excuse me, to shake our heads and wag our tongues and not start holding people accountable. And it's the God's honest truth. It is, and we have to stop waiting. There are so many black folks who have taken positions of leadership that are fighting and struggling so hard and being stabbed the entire time they're doing the leadership work, and they're not being supported. And so when we see people that are out here in leadership trying to do the work, then our role is to also stand in the gap for them, right? We've got to get out of this place of just being emotional for the sake of being emotional and start doing our work and start calling truth to power. I'm done on there. I'm just going to leave it alone. All right, Prince, how are you, sir?
You forgot to hit the applause button.
Listen, man. Listen, you all, I got to tell you this. Now, let me say this. I don't always agree. You call, George call, Maurice call. We don't always agree. What I will say is that our conversations are respectful. And after I get off the phone with you guys every single day, you all don't know, I am writing furiously. I have gone through dozens of books since I became host of The Source, because I write down what you all say and then I go do my research. A good 78 to 85% of the times, the things that you are telling me is absolutely true once I do a little bit of digging. See what I'm saying? Yeah. Right? So it gets to the place now where we have to stop looking and saying all they do is complain, and then let's start doing our own research and start saying, if these folks are saying the same things over and over again, George gives me a headache, though. I gotta tell you, because George don't have nothing nice to say about anybody. I'm like, George, your words matter. Your words matter, sir. But I just want to say thank you. I thank you all because you caused me to think. right? If I was just caught up in the things that I believed in, and if I wasn't willing to go and do my homework and research the things that you're saying to me, because I don't dismiss anybody out of hand. I go and I do my research. So when I say, don't agree with you, that's because I've done some research and I've done the work. So I can tell you why I disagree with you, right? But I just want to thank you all for inspiring me to continue to stay on top of my game and not just to come on here and talk a bunch of BS. Does that make sense?
It does. And I wrote my book in October. It's still the #1 seller, but you ain't get nobody call you to refute it, did you?
No.
Exactly
And I did. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. That book. And can I just tell you, my book still didn't come back to me? I'm so mad. That book is circulating all over Philadelphia. I said, where's my book? Crickets.
Well, the philosophy is you get what you inspect, not what you expect. And so this guy, not this guy, the pastor didn't seem like he missing a meal. You know what I mean? With people out here actually starving. And his church, you need to know if it's a nonprofit or for-profit. 99% of churches are nonprofit. So they don't pay no city wage tax. So that's a big problem with us in the city getting money from them. And another thing is, you know, he did not once talk about the Supreme Court. Everybody running for the Supreme Court seem to be white guys, and we don't get any African Americans running that
Are you talking to the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania?
Yes, the Supreme Court.
Carolyn Nichols is running for Supreme Court.
Right.
But from my research, Prince, they're giving her a hard time. You know what I mean? So
well, because she has other African American qualified candidates running, and she's running out of Democratic habit. That doesn't mean she qualifies for it. So somebody who knows judges, I'll tell you, she's running out of Democratic habit because the assumption is that everybody's going to vote Democrat because the majority of people are Democrat, regardless of the services that they receive. The only problem is that when you're a judge, the whole what party you're a part of is out of the window once people start filing complaints against you, or once the Supreme Court realizes that you're not as smart as you profess to be when you got rulings and stuff like that. Case in point, you just had a guy on there talking about registered Democrat, and you had to correct him and say you can register Democrat or Republican. Right.
You picked it up, Prince.
Right. Now, well, see, and here we are. I mean, look, it took him 6 years to get out of a 4-year college, so I can understand some of the mistakes, you know, that he's gonna make, and he's probably going to be out of that job by them dumb mistakes that he makes. But he's Ryan Boyer's brother, so of course he got that based on the system of democratic voting, not the system of quality. You know what I mean? But now we are in play to do quality control. You need to know these people in office, what they stand for. And you need to also know that if you relieve 75% of these people that are in office, they wouldn't have another job to go to unless somebody hooked them up. Right. You need to know that. And so we're not just giving you a scorecard, but we're going to tell you who got degrees, who don't have degrees. If they lost their job today or tomorrow, what else would they do? Well, what job did they have before they got the city council job or the commissioner job? You understand? I think you need to know this. You need to be complete when you know of people, not just white people. Not just say Alan Dobbs a millionaire. Right. So if he didn't have this job, he would. No. What was Isaiah Thomas doing? Was he making $45,000 coaching basketball, working for the city? What would he be doing if he lost his job tomorrow? Because once you know that, once you know what a person will be doing when they lose their job, then you can get more out them. Because guess what? If only 18% of the people are voting and we're doing a mass get out the vote situation here, then we're not going to have no Ahman Greens with no degrees, state rep, you know what I mean? Because policies and procedures at the state level, the Republicans see you a mile away when you stumble and you fumble and you lack the ability to articulate what the policy means. Why was it written? And how to re-articulate so it helps your people. They see that a mile away. And you can't blame them for looking for those defects and those flaws and stuff like that. Matter of fact, because you haven't been trained or learned how to compete, they see it instantly. So it don't matter where you got this nice suit on.
Man, Prince, you know what? I'm about to smack you. I'm about to smack you over the phone because it's a conversation I keep having. I say, if you're running for office, there has to be a training ground for you because you're absolutely right. I have been sitting in training for the last 2 days. I'm going to be in training for the next couple of weeks for this commission that I'm sitting on. And the fact that I am knowledgeable about the things that I am talking about garners more respect. So when I'm talking to folks and they're looking at me, and I can see the look in their eyes like, oh, she's not just sitting here. She knows what she research. Be well researched. Know what you're asking for. Know what you're looking for. Ask the right questions. If we can't do that, right, when we're sitting in these positions, and if all we're doing is warming seats, then what is the point? What is the point? And why is it so difficult to say people should really get trained before they start to run for office, right? Because you cannot be...
And it's stupid to have someone say, well, I chair that department, but I'm going to have a special committee, or I'm going to look at...
Oh, do you know how people see through that? These darn committees.
Yeah, you chair. The buck stops with you. Well, I want me and the mayor to come to a meeting. No, wait. You chair. You do the appropriation of the money, and you do the investigation, but you do no oversight. So now you come to the people. Once again, there's only 18% of 1.5 million people voting. When you wake this sleeping elephant up, like they did when Wilson Good ran, and it was almost 90% of African Americans, of 400-some thousand people out who voted for the first African American mayor, who decided to give the authority to somebody else to drop a bomb on a city block and then demolish it before there's any appropriate investigation. So you can't just take the color. Every color ain't your kind, and it's difficult because we keep regurgitating what Malcolm X said 40 years ago. But why are we in the same quandary? Why are we in the same disposition? Why? That's he's gonna talk about, well, Vincent Hughes. We meet with him. He has a breakfast. Well, why Vincent Hughes not meeting with the hood? Because he sure didn't show up and tell us that they spent $1.1 billion on all those damaged properties, all those damaged stores. I didn't hear Vincent come tell that. Matter of fact, we had to pull teeth to get him to acknowledge that there was another package of money coming down, since they blew $100 million and went to the prisons more so than the homeowners and the landlords. I mean, these people are just—it's ridiculous. And it's not like nobody's not talking up and speaking against it. It's that people are fed up and they're tired, and they know that these politicians won't come in their hood and seek out their vote, so they send surrogates. You know what I mean? They send the grandmoms, and they send older people, the Madeline Dunns of the world, and stuff like that, to go and be surrogates for them. But they don't even look out for them. They look out for them around Election Day. We are election, political day people, more so than everyday people helping everyday people.
And that's why the goal is to awaken the city, awaken the folks, and get them out to vote. If I got to write it in Morse code, primary elections are super important, because especially in a city that is heavily Democratic run, if a person wins in the primaries, more than likely they're going to be the person in November, and then they just kind of rest on their laurels and skate right on through till November, and then we don't see and hear from them again. There has to be a better system, and so I am challenging folks, even if they are not given the green light by any party, Republican or Democrat, if they want to run, if you're a Democrat or Republican and you want to run, right? And give people options to choose different candidates. The goal is to wake everybody up in this city. We want more than 18% of the folks voting out here, because we're not going to get better if we don't expect better. And it's not by accident that you don't hear so much about the primaries. People don't want folks to come out in the primaries because it makes it easier for them to win in November by two votes and 100 votes, and the foolishness. And meanwhile, the folks are dying out here. All these murders, the school district is in upheaval, just stuff, right? And so, the ultimate goal is to get more people to get up and go vote. And especially since you can apply to vote online and do your absentee ballots online, and you just have to fill it in and send it in, go for it. Because I'm telling you, nothing is going to change if nothing changes in this city.
And you are absolutely correct, because anybody who is sitting next to a politician that don't start the conversation with my condolences to all the children and the women that have died in the city are someone who can care less. Who can care less? He don't care two tomatoes about us. And we see that. He's all cavalier about the conversation, everything but the fact that we got 60 or 62 deaths and we only got 31 days in the city. We had 500 last year. We got SEPTA drivers who are disgruntled, who don't have proper representation because we put black folks in union leadership over them or in supervision over them, which is helping to drive them insane. And we're not even talking about the trash truck drivers. They still have not gotten the – you value a McDonald's worker as a hazardous pay or a dollar store worker as a hazardous worker over a trash truck operator or a sanitation engineer, however you want to call it. There's just no, and they did not once that they say what the teachers are saying. Well, we not going back to the school and we'll go on strike. You know, if they're not protesting, because if they go on strike, you then have to give them everything that they want. Because guess what? On top of this pandemic, you cannot afford to have hazardous waste just floating around in the city. So the gases and the stench, you can't afford it. When this is the opportune time, we've always been a city of opportunity when it comes to unions, and every union has capitalized on striking at the right time, and they have not. So you think that some of this PUA money or any of this money should go right to them. Maybe the $12 million you giving the restaurants who are not even open. If you drive past this city, the Chinese have cut little small windows inside of that building and make you walk up to the window and you're service, but we give them $12 million to split up because they got seating in a place that you're not seating at. Why you didn't give that money to the trash people? And so when Maurice get on here and he talks about Curtis Jones, he's talking about the public safety. He's the chair of public safety. Do you realize it's a hazard that all these people are dying and the way they're dying? That's public safety, especially when you hear the other day that the residents of the city have to clean up the crime scene of a loved one, depending on where it happens at. So if it happens in their house, they bring down the resident. And so you are just convoluted with folks who do not have answers because they're not even equipped to be in that position. Period.
Oh,
and that might just be my soapbox. But I think if somebody don't talk about it, it's a disgrace. And to have these people come on and be so comfortable, you know what I mean? They're so cavalier and deal with us with laughter and sarcasm as if we are not hurting our heads. Do you realize that all it takes is enough of this blind hurt for people to snap?
But that's what's happening, Prince. People are snapping.
Right.
People are snapping.
I'm talking about lose control, lose faith, lose opportunity. You know, all these pastors talking about the same stuff. They are nonprofit. Ask any pastor that come on your show, and you should do a survey to find out, because I may even just do the research. How many of them got some of this stimulus money while they were closed? How many of them live in the city of Philadelphia? They already don't pay city wage taxes. You talk about the black clergy is more concerned about who's on the ballot politic-wise, and they're not concerned about who's in a body bag in this city? Come on, are you kidding me?
All right,
it's just the same group of people who get together and say, well, we need to blackball this person, we need to blackball that person, you know, and you can't keep doing that. You have to stop doing that. You have to take your licks, too. If you're partially responsible, if you can get on there and raise a couple of dollars, or you can host Kamala, or you can bring these people into the city, Joe Biden, you're the only one, he's coming to your church, or if you met with him, then you part responsible. You can't not shuck your responsibility when it comes to helping us, because we need help, period. And we need a black Supreme Court, you know, person running for Supreme Court. And we don't need the one that's catching the hell, because guess what? White folks recognize real, like black folks real recognize real. If you black and you at that, you wouldn't be on that commission if they didn't realize that you didn't just bring something to the table, but you knew how to hold your own.
Yes.
So don't give us because she black. We don't know. She black and ill-equipped. We're not servicing that. No more.
Okay. Got you. Thank you, sir. Goodbye, Prince. Talk to you soon. All right, bye-bye. Ooh, my Lord. Wait a minute. D from South Philly. Are you there, D?
Wow. Hey, Prince, you are so
Child.
Why don't you run, Prince? We need you in office. We need you in office. First of all, I just thank God for revealing what we still dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And I thank Reverend Dr. Alan Wallace for being on. I followed his 31 Ride by Faith prayer from January 1st to January 31st. It was true blue. I thank him for his courage, for his destiny, for all that he's doing. He's one pastor that came down from E9, from Cheltenham in South Philly and prayed on the corners with some of these pastors that wouldn't even come out these doors and pray on the corner for what's going on and all the killings and stuff that's going on right now in Philadelphia. But I also wanted to talk about the school teachers should have been one of the first ones on the list. When I heard 2 weeks ago that they were vaccinating nurses, we don't even see nurses in the school. They took them out of the school years ago. We only see them 2 days a week in the school.
Are you talking about vaccinating nurses in the schools or vaccinating nurses in the hospitals that are taking care of COVID patients?
The nurses that were working in the schools. So what about the teachers? They should have been the first in line. That was 2 weeks ago they were talking about that. I think they were talking about vaccinating them up in the school in Northeast somewhere. I don't know if it was Lincoln High or it was a high school up in Northeast.
Okay.
Thirdly, oh goodness, the impeachment. There's so much going on.
Child, I still got to talk about the impeachment. This is just a lot.
I don't even want to look at it. It's so sick. We talk about white savagery because we got to call it as it is. And stop speaking those things, start speaking these things that are not as though they were. You know, white supremacy, it is not. But white savagery, it is. It is that, you know. So we got to start speaking that. But Prince, what is Prince's book? I would like to get it. I love to listen to Prince George.
Michael, see if Prince can call back in. I can't remember my book. He's left a copy of the book at the studios last year before everything closed down. I loaned it to a friend, and the book never made it back to me.
Right. And last but not least, I've been working in my community for 30 years. I've been on as a committee person for 21 years, and I'm still learning what's a committeeman's job, what are we supposed to be doing. And, you know, when people come to vote, they can come and say, well, who are we pulling? And I'll tell them to leave it a pull, but I wish we had a class and we had a test that we had to take for all those people that are still holding office and want to hold office. I mean, it's just sickening. I'm sick of it. I sat and watched Black History the other night with Adam Clay from New York, how he was running in Harlem when things were so bad in Harlem. Adam, Colin Powell. Yeah. Anyway, I thank God for WURD. I'm sitting back watching WURD as I recreate myself as a youth leader. I can't wait for the churches to open up, but we are the churches. We are the walk and living example. So,
yes, ma'am. All right. Thank you so much, okay? You have a wonderful afternoon, okay? All right, madam. Bye-bye. I know I have other callers on the line. I'll take you when I come back for my next break. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Did you know you can use LIHEAP to pay your PICO bill? Last year, PICO customers received almost $17 million in free LIHEAP support. This year, take advantage. This deal is first come, first served. Apply now. Call 800-34-HELP-4.
Looking for an exciting and well-paying new career opportunity? MCAP is a free manufacturing career accelerator program. In just 7 weeks, learn new career skills, earn industry certifications, and connect to manufacturing companies who are hiring. To see if MCAP is right for you, call 215-770-7101. That's 215-770-7101. MCAP is brought to you by Drexel University's Goodwin College of Professional Studies in partnership with EDSI Incorporated. MCAP is an equal opportunity program. Diverse candidates, including women and people of color, are strongly encouraged to apply.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to the source. Oh, my husband is like an angel. He must have heard me clearing my throat. He brought me tea, so praise the Lord for that. Let me take these next couple of callers on the line, but give me a second. I want to read something to you because Montgomery County is making history at the impeachment trial today. Bruce Castor and Madeline Dean defined the county they grew up in, and will meet on the Senate floor today in the Senate hearing. I just want you to know they both grew up in Montgomery County in the 1960s, their childhood homes just miles apart. They both pursued careers there in law and politics. He once served as her county commissioner, and she now represents him in Congress. But despite traveling in similar circles for decades, Madeline Dean and Bruce L. Castor Jr. have never met. Their paths will finally cross today, when they sit on opposite sides of Donald Trump's second Senate impeachment. Dean, a second-term Democratic Congresswoman, is one of 9 impeachment managers prosecuting the case that the former president incited last month's deadly U.S. Capitol attack. Castor was enlisted as Trump's lawyer less than 10 days ago. Since then, he's blazed a trail across white-ring media, dismissing the proceedings as unconstitutional political theater. That 2 Montgomery County natives would face off in the historic Senate proceedings this week, the first impeachment trial for a former president and the only time a holder of the office has faced a second trial, is not altogether surprising. After all, Pennsylvania has been at the center of Trump's attempts to overturn his election loss, and Montgomery County was key to President Joe Biden's victory in the state, delivering a 134,000 vote margin, the biggest Democratic gain in the state compared with 2016. And so friends and family describe Dean, 61, as composed, studious, and careful. She was part of a Democratic women elected as a rebuke to Trump in 2018, and now hopes to hold him accountable for his final days in office. And they say that Bruce Castor, a former colleague, puts it, he is blessed with an ego the size of a Titanic. So it should be fun to follow this. And so, you know, I'll pay attention once I'm finished working around 8 p.m. today. Not right now, though. Mother's got to keep working. All right, let's go. Maurice, how are you, sir?
Hello, Mother.
Hey, sir, how you doing?
I would love hearing Prince break it down, you know. Because,
Man, he broke it down to the lowest common denominator, didn't he?
Right. He has no chasers. Straight. You take it straight. See, that's what I like. This is what URD. I've been with URD since the beginning, and this is how it always been. When I heard about the murders, a tear came out my eye because I was just thinking. Right before I found out there were 7 people killed, I said, if one more child gets shot, we should be ashamed of ourselves.
So wait a minute, Maurice, let me ask you this. Hold on, because I do believe I pulled up the article. It says a day of gun violence, this was KYW, leaves 7 dead and 1 wounded in Philadelphia. This is in one day. 7 people, including a 15-year-old boy, were shot and killed in separate incidents on a violent Monday in Philadelphia. There were 5 shootings in 5 different parts of the city before 8 p.m. last night. The youngest victim was shot several times when he was in the area of 29th and Morris Streets in South Philadelphia. It was around 8 p.m. And police say after the 15-year-old was shot, he ran a block over to South Hollywood Street and collapsed. He was taken to the hospital where he died. Police also say a woman was shot and killed on the 4200 Ridge Avenue in East Falls around 8:30 yesterday morning. 3 other incidents were double shootings. Police say a man and a woman, both 24 years old, were found shot to death on Hill Creek Drive in Crescentville at 12:45 a.m. Investigators say a 5-year-old believed to be the couple's child was in the house as well but not injured. Around 2 p.m., police say 2 people in their 20s were shot in the area of 2nd and Rubicon Streets in Albany. The woman died while the man survived and was taken to the hospital where he is now listed in stable condition. Good God Almighty. Then about an hour later, police say 2 men were shot and killed in the area of Rose Hill and Cambria Streets in Kensington. Investigators say no one has been arrested in connection with any of these cases. As of Tuesday morning, the Philadelphia Police Department has tallied 62 homicides in the year so far, a 55% increase over the same period of that time last year. We're in a pickle.
Well, what the problem is this is actually not a police issue as far as why the crime has been coming for a while. What it is when you have poor education and then you don't have any jobs for these people. It's just like a guy sitting on his step, and he might be going either way, good guy, bad guy, and the wife is not giving him no love. The baby's crying because it's hungry, and he doesn't have an education. And he has to say, what am I going to do? Am I just going to sit here and let my family starve, or I got to go out and provide for them? And these are the dilemmas that maybe not all these people are bad people, but they've got to make a decision, and the city is showing no leadership at all. The mayor, 2 Thanksgivings ago, said he had a 100-day plan, and the plan has never come to tuition. We haven't had the 100-day plan. Matter of fact, he's been null and void. He's been not in the public eye at all because he's.
Can I say this, Maurice? Can I say this? I have had conversations now with media folks that have been in media in the business for a long, long time, and who are more recent. And to a person, they've all said they felt like the mayor abdicated his role as mayor. They felt like he's he's missing, and they can't understand why. And to a person, they kept saying, we're so disappointed. I'm saying, well, but if you're disappointed, how do we get him to show up on behalf of people? Just because you can't run for office again doesn't mean that you're not still mayor of this city, right? And let me just be clear. I've had good conversations with Mayor Kenny, good ones, right? But even I am looking, I'm going, sir, where are you? Where are you? I would love for him to come on this show and talk to me about, he probably won't now because, you know, I've just been fussing. But I would love for him to come on air and talk to me about what in the Sam Hill is going on. Why does it seem like he's just not available for the most part, right? And why are there so many of his city managers finding themselves in so much trouble for doing stuff they're not supposed to be doing? I've got questions, as I'm sure the rest of the city does too.
Well, see, Mayor Kenny seems like a nice guy. He says some of the right things, and you want to shake your head, okay? But he ran on a lie. He ran on that he would stop, and frisk. That's why the black community came towards him, because he was talking about the issues at hand that we wanted stop and frisk, stop. And what happened was, once he got in the office, all of a sudden he changed his mind. All this construction, right now, with all this construction we done had in this city, black people should be living in milk and honey right now. We should have we have jobs everywhere, good paying jobs everywhere. But if you go down to where they're building the buildings, you don't see nobody black. And if you do see somebody black, they're a laborer. They're not in a skilled position because the union makes it hard for qualified black people to get into the business. So all this money that's coming into the city, they keep telling us that there's nobody qualified. But you had Brian Boyer on. If I was Brian Boyer and I had controls of with the union guys, I would ask for guys that's retired to go into the OICs and to the Urban League and train guys for free, or charge them $50 and I'll teach you how to read a ruler, how to use a level, teach them the basics so they can pass that union test. But
you're talking about Ryan Boyer, not Brian Boyer. Ryan, right?
It doesn't matter, really.
Well, it does.
Not to me, it doesn't. Because down the dial, they go on that show and be telling people that they got apprenticeships available. But I never ever see them mention that on URD. Now look, I'm not going to stay on here long, but I want to tell you something. When I woke up this morning, I was very disappointed of the 2 sharecroppers that come on early in the morning. They didn't mention the murders at all. And I was like, wow, what is wrong with these 2 guys? This should be the #1 story. They want to talk about football. They want to talk about the school teachers. They want to talk about everything except for we got another crisis here, and it's called murder. And I don't know why they don't realize that. And it upsets me. Then I go to the second guy. He glossed over it like it's nothing until I made it an issue. I made it an issue this morning about these murders. And then they're going to get mad at me and tell me, what am I doing? I'm like, what do you mean, what am I doing? And then when I told him what I was doing, he had to shut up, because I do have people on my block with walkie-talkies. I've testified in 2 drug cases. go down the street. They're not taking responsibility. I turn to URD for faith and hope, and to hear black people express their feelings. Whether I agree with them or not is not the point. I just want to hear people tell me what's on their mind. And if they disagree with me, that just makes me work harder to find out where did I go wrong or what they didn't understand, or maybe I'm wrong. You know, it doesn't matter. I don't need to agree with you to like you. You know? And this is the problem here. If you don't agree with them, then something's wrong with you. Now, I'm going to let you, Prince, George, whoever, do your job. But the point of, just be honest. Our elected officials are not doing their job. And if you want to find out what's really going on, you get Curtis Jones on here as a guest, because he's supposed to be the safety officer here of Philadelphia. And I'm telling you, with him doing his assignment, I don't feel safe at all. How is a blind man carrying a gun because he's scared to walk the streets of Philadelphia? Think about that one.
Wow. Thank you so much, Maurice. I appreciate you. Take it easy, okay, sir? Jesus. You know, they're making quite good points here. Jesus Christ. This kind of, we are literally in a crisis in this city, and the time has really come. The time has really come for us to spend some time and think about this. I don't know who Karen Spotted Eagle is, but let me tell you. Karen said, how many autopsies are performed in these deaths? Communities need to focus the families in getting autopsies performed. Did you know African American organs and tissues has been the best transplant experience? Researched and confirmed. Sits in the body when the body is picked up by funeral directors. Slits in the body when the body is picked up by many funeral directors. Corinne makes a good point. It is something that we have known for years, that the harvesting of our organs for transplants we do, it works. And so we have to ask as families. Sometimes families don't give permissions for autopsies, and when they go and they check, autopsy was performed anyway and parts of the organs are missing. We want to make sure, and in all your grief, that you continue to ask those questions too, like, what am I missing here? What do I need to know? Lord, I can't. It's woof. Whew. All right. George?
Good afternoon.
You see how you always start out all innocent like? Can we not call anybody names today, George? Can we just say our piece without calling people names today?
We're going to do that. You know,
okay.
Calling what said about the organs. You know, I'm a firm believer in organ donation. You know, because and that's because I sent my nephew to school for, you know, to be an undertaker. You know, and he's done a very good job at it. The thing is that you know where they put you. You know when they take all your organs out, you know where your organs go? In a bag at the foot of, you know, and it's being a casket. When you go on the ground, all your organs, your heart, liver, everything is in a bag at the foot of your down wherever they put it in there, it's there and it goes in the ground. Whereas you can donate or whatever, you know, your organs. It's a thing that a lot of African Americans.
And let me ask you this: don't they harvest the organs before after they declare them brain dead and ask the family for permission to harvest the organs? So sometimes the organs are not even in the casket, right? If they've gotten permission from the families to harvest the organs just before they remove them from life support.
The doctors do that. The doctors do that. You know, that's all done at the hospital. And families will say yes or, you know, yay or nay.
Right.
And then it goes from there, you know. But once they leave out of there, the undertakers and all your organs are no more good because they come off the machine, you know, you're down and this and that and the other. But that's that. Let me ask you a question. Maybe you can answer it. And I don't like this, and I don't speak for Reverend Wilder. Me and Reverend Wilder are very good friends, and he speaks for himself, and we have very good conversation. But it ever occurred to you that he never joined the black clergy? He never been part of the black clergy. He don't even associate with the black clergy. I mean, he might talk to them or whatever, but he's not bundled up in their foolishness. And let me say this here. I will make it perfectly clear. I'm going to make it my mission. Anybody they endorse, I'm going to do everything conceivably possible to make sure you lose. So you better make sure that they don't endorse you, because if they endorse you, you're going to be pretty much guaranteed to lose. And I'm going to go to certain people's boss to make sure that the money's there and everything else is there, and I'm going to make sure, I promise you, you will not become an elected official, judge, or whatever else it is you want to be, period. End of discussion, so we don't even have to talk about that no more. And they know what I'm saying, I mean, and it's going to happen just like I say it's going to happen. The best person for the Supreme Court is an African-American woman that I have the utmost respect for. And before the pandemic, if you ever had a chance to walk around in the CJC and see the performance of how she handles a court, they always sent her to the trouble, like when she was in family court. They had a backlog there. She straightened that out. When they had the thing over there in the CJC, I forgot exactly what it was, but she straightened that out. It was Judge Palumbo's room, and I forgot what it was, but she straightened all that out. It's Paula Patrick, a black female that is well-educated to the law, never disrespectful. Both sides love her. The prosecutors love her because they know they're going to get a fair shake. The defense know they're going to get a fair shake. That's all you asking for is fairness. I mean, even when Lynn Abraham was there, they didn't particularly like her in certain motions court it was. She cleaned up motions court where black people was catching bad breaks because they was always going along with whatever the DA said that they would tell you to appeal it. I mean, you have to just check her record. She's one of a kind. And I mean, they got a lot of...
Her name is Paula Patrick? Is that what you just said?
Paula Patrick, yes.
Okay. I'm going to look her up.
Yes, and, I'm happy to know that, URD's management is finally listening to the station and, really trying to understand what's going on, why people complaining the way they're complaining. In my opinion, I don't think social media helps URD because they don't spend any money. My thing is that station can't operate or keep growing or move forward without service, without people buying ads or people advertising. All that shout out, all that foolishness that go on social media, they're not spending a dime. We're going to take so-and-so, he's going to, I wouldn't even comment on anything on social media. If you can't buy time, you can't find the time to call in, and this is the only African-American station really left that has an audience. Like I say, they hear you in Georgia more than they hear you here. I mean, this station has, grown to the point, thanks to people who have people that tell them, look, go to your social media, not your social media, but go to your apps, and this is the station you listen to, because a lot of places don't have talk radio, not black talk radio. In Atlanta and in Georgia, say Savannah and all that there, they don't have real black talk. They have black talk, but they don't have real black talk. But they all listen to URD. When people come here, they're amazed at listening to URD. Like all the white stations, all the white management, they listen to URD. All the people who call the shots in the city listen to URD. You think the mayor don't listen? All you got to do is stand near his truck, his car, and security. All of them listen to it. They love it. You know why? They know what to do, what not to do, what to say and what not to say, who to service and who not to service. And that's the way it goes. You can sit up there and talk all that there, but like I say, they care less about this killing until some of these people pull up their bootstraps or whatever else you want to call it and make the apology. They think they ain't going to have to go to McNesby's and black people going to still be getting killed. They think they ain't going to have to apologize to the mayor and black people going to still be getting killed. And everybody tell you, well, ethnically and, personally, they shouldn't do this, man. Listen, all that crap you talking is just a matter of opinion. They care less what you say and how you feel. You cannot go in people's office and totally disrespect them and think there's not going to be any consequences behind it. They got the ball, the bat, and the gun. They got everything. They got it all. And these fools that I told you that was all praising the police commissioner, their mouths are shut. You know why? They was told don't say nothing. If you can't say something positive and nice about her, don't say nothing at all. If anybody else had a job that she's doing, they would be fired. But
all right,
though she's black, she can't get fired.
So let me say this to you, and I got to take a break because Michael is about to shoot me because I'm now a minute over. I got permission to interview Commissioner Outlaw. They're just holding on now to figure out what day and time. So she'll be on my show, okay?
And one thing I can say is that I hope you open the phone. And one thing I know for sure, one thing for certain, two things for sure, that they will not give you a list of questions that only you allowed to ask her. She's going to be in the hot seat. I hope she can handle it.
Goodbye, George. Goodbye. You are listening to The Source. I love the WURD listeners. Lord have mercy. Opinionated from the rooter to the tutor. 96.1 FM, 900 AM. Streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is a number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Just one more step. You got it.
You're doing great. This is the sound of a nationally ranked top rehabilitation hospital, home to the largest collection of robotics in the United States, where we continually exceed patient expectations. Because no injury is too severe or too minor for our care.
There you go.
This is the sound of success. Moss Rehab. Challenge accepted.
Recovery starts with a call. Pennsylvania's Substance Use Disorder Hotline is staffed by real people who are trained to help. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll get you or your loved one into treatment regardless of your access to insurance. If you or someone you know is suffering from addiction, call 1-800-662-HELP. Recovery starts with a call.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
Hey folks, WURD members are invited to tune in every second Tuesday of the month with me, Nick, for a chance to win a book bundle of the newest releases from Kensington Publishing's culturally oriented Dafina imprint.
Okay, hers new fire potato chips and cheese curls. They are spicy. Whew, they're hottest snacks yet. Hold on. Whew. But you know, it's not just heat. There's some nice sweet and savory stuff going on too. Ooh, there's that heat again. It burns, but it burns so tasty. Ooh, that's hot. Find Hers Fire Snacks at your store today. Whew. Taste the flavor, feel the heat, break out the Hers.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. God bless my husband because he brought me that nasty tea, throat coat. And I tasted it before I realized what I was drinking. So, you know, I went and looked up recovering and transporting organs, right? And it says, while the search for... Excuse me, I don't know why I'm losing my voice. While the search for matching recipients is underway, the deceased donor's organs are maintained on artificial support. Machines keep blood containing oxygen flowing to the organs. The condition of each organ is carefully monitored by the hospital medical staff and the OPO procurement coordinator. A transplant surgical team replaces the medical team that treated the patient before death. The medical team trying to save the patient's life and the transplant team are never the same. The surgical team removes the organs and tissues from the donor's body in an operating room. First, organs are recovered, and then additional authorized tissues such as bone, cornea, and skin. All incisions are surgically closed. Organ donation does not interfere with open casket funerals. Organs remain healthy only for a short period of time after removal from the donor, so minutes count. So I saw that, and then I saw this, and it says organ donation is only possible when the donor has died in hospitals. Organs need a supply of oxygen-rich blood to remain suitable for transplantation. Donors are put on artificial respiration to keep their heart beating so that oxygen-rich blood continues to circulate through their body, even though they're considered brain dead and not expected to survive. I thought so. It's only possible because you have to keep the blood circulating through the organs, even though the person may be brain dead. To make the organs viable, you have to keep the blood circulating, and that has to happen in a hospital. And it only lasts for a certain period of time outside of the body. So there's a, between the time they remove it from the deceased to the time they get it into a transplant ambulance, to the time they get transplanted, minutes actually count. So I thank you all for bringing it up because guess what? we began talking about it. Gary from Southwest, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. How are you this afternoon?
Child, Lord. Woo, you all make me earn all my coins. Do you hear me? Every coin.
And you know what, Andrea, we love you because what you bring to the table. You know, I love when Prince calls in. He was breaking it all down. You know, we have got to open our eyes and see that the people who are supposed to be representing and protecting our community are not doing their job. And they won't even come on and address it. It's time for...
So can I be honest with you, Gary?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
I have not invited 95% of them on my show. I'm not. I can't do it, and let me tell you why.
Okay.
I am doing my own research. I'm paying attention to what's going on out here. I'm watching their meetings. I'm watching how they respond to certain things. If you notice, when I have a politician or a public official on my show, it's someone you always hear me say, I paid attention to what you've said and I paid attention to what you do. I think it is disingenuous to invite people on this radio show that have not done anything on behalf of the constituency and are not saying anything much, right? So you can go blow hot air somewhere else. I just don't find the need to waste 25 minutes or 15 minutes or 35 minutes with folks who are not going to do the right things on behalf of the constituency. Now, not naming names, not even going there, but you can tell by who is on my show and who isn't on, or who I invite on the show, right? Because I believe that certain folks are, everybody deserves a space to say their piece. But for me, and I'm just speaking as someone who has run for political office, someone who has won a political seat, someone who has been in these trenches for decades, working on behalf of the underserved, and folks, I can spot foolishness a mile away. And what I'm not doing is placating and mollycoddling foolishness. So to cut the argument short, I don't even invite it to the show, right? That's for everybody else to do. I am looking to speak to people on a national level, people to speak to on a local level, identifying folks who are absolutely doing the work and finding the solutions for the city of this, for the people of Philadelphia. Honestly. That is just where I stand right now. I may be wrong. I may absolutely be wrong. But I've got to tell you, if they want to go somewhere else, they can go somewhere else. I just know on this show, I want folks who are willing to come on here and have the hard, honest conversations and to say, look, did we get everything right? No. But here's where I am. That's the kind of leadership that I want to talk to and put in front of the people at WURD. Everybody else can do whatever they want.
You know what, Andrea? I really can appreciate that because a lot of them are so disingenuous. And you keep it real, and I love that about you. But to the listening audience, it's time for change. I mean, it's overdue, long overdue. We've been insulted and neglected for far too long. And the fact that they can come on and give those, like I always say, those little photo ops and they have their little cookouts, that means absolutely nothing to me, and I'm so tired of it. And in my years in city government, I've seen enough to make me sick, and it's still going on. And it's up to us to remove those individuals and get people in office, some young blood in there that want to actually serve our people and do the right thing. But I just want to thank you again for all that you do, Andrea, and keep doing what you do. Thank you.
So hold on, Gary. So you heard me saying earlier that the goal here is to, tell folks, talk about the primaries, let people know who the folks are that are running for office, encourage them to get out and vote, because I really believe that in our primaries, folks have not come out to vote because of whatever the reason. But I really do think that the sleeping giant is awakening. And so folks are waking up. And so I'm telling folks, if you want to run for office, run for office. Don't wait for the machine to endorse you and tell you how wonderful you are, that they can take you or not. Run for office. I've seen it. Go into city council and sit on her laurels. She's in there actually getting work done. You understand what I'm saying? I'm watching. Trust me when I tell you I am watching, right? And so... we have to encourage people to run, whether they are acknowledged or given the knighthood by the different parties, Republican, Democratic, or Independent, that they have to run. And then our goal is to encourage people to go out and vote. You don't have to show up in a voting booth. Lord, the one good thing of this pandemic is you can vote in your house. put a stamp on it and send it out and have your votes count. It's the easiest way to vote these days. So there's no excuse for people not voting right now, right? So that's where we are with that. It's the only way we're going to get the dead, stale stuff out of office, honestly.
You know, and you're right. I agree with you 150%. For me, and I tell people all the time, it's a new day. We have the power to change and get people in office who are going to really serve us. So for all those individuals who may be listening that are in office right now, who kind of like neglected us for so long, a new day is coming. Thank you, Andrea.
Oh, you're welcome, my brother. You take it easy, okay? All right. Wow. So, Michael, you're going to play that song, but just a little tidbit of it, because Facebook might shut us down because, you know, violations of musical rights. I don't even play music. But going into our break, our next break, play a little bit of that Supreme song for me in honor of Mary Wilson. And then we'll go from there. Our guest at 3 p.m. is going to be, and I have to let you know, it's so funny. Karen A. Robinson sent me an article written by this doctor, a physician on the fence about the COVID-19 vaccine by Tiziana. I want to make sure, is it Tiziane? Michael, when she calls in, ask her how she pronounces her name, please, because I cannot stand to mess up people's names. Arma, MD. And she wrote it in January of 2021. And the goal is to have a riveting conversation with her around the pros and cons of the vaccine so that we have a better idea and can make better decisions as a group of people around what we should do. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
WURD is supported by Temple University, Philadelphia's public university. At Temple, we aim to make college accessible for all. That's why we launched the Cecil B. Moore Scholars Program, a bridge program for high school students in North Philadelphia that offers pre-college support, including tutoring, career exploitation, and the opportunity to take a free course at Temple. It's part of our commitment to cultivate leaders from our city and to support all students in reaching their full potential.
This is not a fad for us.
We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are
undeniably,
indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media.
WURD. Want the latest in Word swag?
Check out the shop tab on WURDradio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on WURDradio.com. Show the world that you're all about Black
Talk Media.
Hello, my name is Andrea Delzell, and I've been using a wheelchair since I was 5 years old. If I had one message for the general public, it would be relax. Some folks get really flustered around disabled people, so they just pretend we're not there. I've actually had waiters talk to my companion and completely ignore me. People with disabilities just want the same respect and consideration as everyone else.
This is a message from United Spinal Association. Download our disability etiquette booklet at unitedspinal.org.
Celebrating Black history all day, every day. Maddie Humphreys.
You can't proclaim that people have inalienable rights from a common creator.
And
and say you own some of those people.
This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD, Philadelphia, independent black media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. This just in: Kobe Bryant's crash caused by pilots' poor decision-making and disorientation, the National Transportation, NTSB says. The National Transportation Safety Board concluded Tuesday that pilot Ara Zobayan's poor decision-making probably caused the helicopter crash involving NBA star Kobe Bryant. The NTSB found that Zobayan was flying under visual flight rules, which meant he had to be able to see where he was going, but chose to fly into thick clouds where he became spatially disoriented. The NTSB identified self-induced pressure and planned continuation bias as contributing factors in Zobayan's decision-making. And then I got this thing about Paula A. Patrick is a judge on the Philadelphia County Court of Common Pleas in Pennsylvania. Patrick was first elected to the court in 2003. She was retained in 2013 for a term that expires in 2023. Patrick ran for a seat on the Pennsylvania Superior Court in 2017. She was defeated in the primary election in May 16, 2017. Until her election to the Common Pleas bench, Patrick spent her legal career in private practice. See what I'm talking about? And so, yeah, we just want to make sure that we get these news out. So while I am waiting for Dr. Arama to call in, I wanted to read something to you. That an opinion that was written for the Washington Post. Someone says they're sending my tape format to 60 minutes. Thank you, darling. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. My fellow Republicans, convicting Trump is necessary to save America. This was written by Adam Kinzinger yesterday at 6 p.m. Adam Kinzinger is a Republican, represents Illinois' 16th congressional district in the U.S. House of Representatives. Lord have mercy. Winston Churchill famously said, "Those who fail to learn from history are condemned to repeat it." All Americans, but especially my fellow Republicans, should remember this wisdom during the Senate's trial of former President Donald Trump. I say this as a lifelong Republican who voted to impeach Trump last month. Virtually all my colleagues on the right side of the aisle took the opposite path. Most felt it was a waste of time, political theater that distracted from bigger issues. The overwhelming majority of Senate Republicans appear to feel the same way about conviction. But this isn't a waste of time. It is a matter of accountability, something that I think is missing in this country. If the GOP doesn't take a stand, the chaos over the past few months and the past 4 years could quickly return. The future of our party and our country depends on confronting what happened so it doesn't happen again. The immediate cause for Trump's impeachment was January 6th, but the president's rally and resulting riot on Capitol Hill did not come out of nowhere. They were the results of 4+ years of anger, outrage, and outright lies. My Lord, I think this person was listening to me when I was talking today. Perhaps the most dangerous lie, because I keep saying that this isn't just a January 6th thing. This happened before he even became president, right? The most dangerous lie, or at least the most recent, was that the election was stolen. Of course it wasn't, but a huge number of Republican leaders encouraged the belief that it was. Every time that lie was repeated, the riots of January 6th became more likely. Even now, many Republicans refuse to admit what happened. Tishiana. All right, good. Tishiana Arma. Thank you so much. I'll get her in 1 second because I can't wait to talk to her. Let her know we're getting ready to have a really good conversation. They continue to feed anger and resentment among the people. On January 6th, that fury led to the murder of a Capitol Police officer and the deaths of 4 other Americans. If that rage is still building, where does it go from here? Question we asked. Impeachment offers a chance to say enough is enough. It ought to force every American, regardless of party affiliation, to remember not only what happened on January 6th, but also the path that led there. After all, the situation could get much, much worse with more violence and more division that cannot be overcome. The further down this road we go, the closer we come to the end of America as we know it. The Republican Party I joined as a young man would never take that road. The GOP that inspired me to serve in uniform and then run for public office believed a brighter future was just around the bend. We stood for equal opportunity, firm in our conviction that a poor kid from the south side of Chicago deserves the same shot as a privileged kid from Highland Park. We knew that if we brought everyone into America's promise, we would unleash a new era of American progress and prosperity. Outrage and the fear of a darker future was nowhere to be found in that Republican Party back then. When leaders such as Donald Trump changed that dynamic, many of my fellow Republicans went along without questions. Many are still there because they believe the rank-and-file Republican voter is there, too. But I think that's an illusion. The anger and outrage are drowning out the much larger group of people who reject that approach. Worse, many have gone silent because they assume the party's leaders no longer represent them. They are waiting for leaders who will say what they know is true. Since my vote to impeach Trump, I've heard from tens of thousands of my constituents. Their reaction has been overwhelmingly supportive. Republicans of all backgrounds and outlooks have told me they appreciate my efforts to return the GOP to a foundation of principle, not personality. I've even heard from many Democrats. They don't agree with me on a lot of issues, but they want the Republican Party to be healthy and competitive. I firmly believe the majority of Americans, Republican, Democrat, Independent, you name it, reject the madness of the past 4 years. But we will never move forward by ignoring what happened or refusing to hold accountable those responsible. That will embolden the few who led us here and dishearten the many who know America is better than this. It will make it more likely that we see more anger, violence, and chaos in the years ahead. The better path is to learn the lessons of the recent past. Convicting Donald Trump is necessary to save America from going down a sad, dangerous road. That was written by Adam Kinzinger, who is, let me just tell you, he represents Illinois' 16th Congressional District in the U.S. House of Representatives. I thought that it was a good piece to read to all of you because we sometimes divide ourselves by Republicans or Democrats and not realizing that there are human beings behind all of this, and whatever their party affiliation or their party's purpose was when they first joined, there are plenty of folks who are considered Democrats who have left the Democratic Party and became independents because they thought the Democratic Party was not speaking on their behalf. Same thing is happening in the Republican Party right now. So I would say leadership on both sides really needs to take a deeper look at what we're doing and saying as we're supposed to be leading this group of folks into the next 10, 20, 50 years. Let me take Sandra from East Oak Lane quickly, and then I'll get into this conversation with Tishiana Arma, Dr. Tishiana Arma. I love this. I can't wait. Sandra, East Oak Lane, quickly, how are you, madam?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. What can I do for you?
Okay, I wanted to just throw some things out as far as the judges that are going to be up for election. I think some of the things that the citizens/voters need to also know is if these judges have had any disciplinary action in their record, if they were founded or unfounded. Also, if they owe any outstanding income taxes, things of this nature, because in the past, when judges have run and these things are in their records, we're going to have the media, like the Inquirer, printing out these, situations. So we need to be looking at more in-depth about the background of the judges. Also, as far as juvenile justice, how these judges will adjudicate youth and where do they go, because the youth can be feeders for the adult system. So we want to know, because this is where it starts, you know, with the juveniles. So we want to know how these judges are going to adjudicate the youth, where are they going to send them if they need to be placed. Is it going to be in Philadelphia County, outside Philadelphia County, outside the state of Pennsylvania? Because there's a lot of revenue involved in, juvenile justice. And, you know, we want to keep the revenue here, and we also want to try to keep the youth here who have been adjudicated, if possible, so that their families can visit them.
Got you. Thank you so much.
So these are some things that we really need to drill down with these judges and find out, you know, where they stand on this. We need to begin with the youth, the juvenile justice system. We're too focused on the adult system, and I'm not saying we shouldn't be, but the pipeline is with the juveniles, because if the school district has a representative to come into court with the youth's record of not attending school and they're truant, that alone can send a kid into placement. So we really need to be very careful, you know, as to what these judges say. And the last thing is we need someone to come on and break down what these judges do in these different courts, common pleas, municipal court, appellate court, civil court, Supreme Court. We need.
So, Miss Sandra, that happened last week and the week before on my show. So we'll just make sure we re-air it for you so that you can hear it. Okay?
All right. Thank you.
Because I've been doing it. Oh, you're quite welcome. You're absolutely welcome. Take it easy. All right. Dr. Tishiana Arma, MD, is a Bronx, New York native who graduated from Swarthmore College. She received her medical degree from the University of Rochester School of Medicine and Dentistry, home of the biophysical model. While at Yale for psychiatry residency, she served as co-president of the Yale Psychiatric Residents Association and chief resident of the Hispanic Clinic at the Connecticut Mental Health Center in New Haven, Connecticut. Let me just make sure, hold on, let me just make sure, because her bio. Dr. Arma is driven to increasing access to quality care for the most vulnerable populations. To achieve this goal, she is training the next generation of mental health care providers with an integrated model of care and advising on psychiatric electronic consults from underserved rural settings. She also helps support development of a robust telepsychiatry program at CHCI. Furthermore, she is tireless in her efforts to increase the number of underrepresented minorities providing outstanding psychiatric care in communities where patients have not seen themselves reflected in their health care providers. Woo, I cannot wait to have this conversation. She is now on this show because of an article that she wrote. Let me just pull it up. Tishiana Arma. She said, how I finally made up my mind. Good afternoon, Dr. Tishiana Arma. How are you?
Good afternoon.
I am so excited to talk to you. So,
and you can hear me okay, right?
I can hear you. You sound a little bit far away. Are you on a speakerphone, or you? Yes, a little bit better. Yes. Okay. So Karen A. Robinson posted an article that you wrote about the COVID-19. And I'm going to read snippets of it, and then you and I are going to talk. Is that all right?
That sounds great.
Okay. I have heard people who look down on, shake their fingers at, or cannot fathom why some Americans have lingering doubts about the vaccine. I do not. As a physician, amid all that is going on in the world, work to be done and decisions to be made, I did not jump first in line to get the vaccine. Being a Black Christian wife, mother, and physician, all of these roles contributed to me being counted among the initially hesitant. I feel the need to be open about internal conflict because I was not alone in my delay, and many of you are still weighing your options and deciding if you want to get the vaccine. I hear it in personal conversations, even among health professionals. The news, social media, and surveys all confirm I had company in my reservations. I could say that despite being a physician, some of the wariness came from growing up Black in America. However, it is because of my medical training that I know more about the medical community, how the medical community has mistreated, maimed, and caused the deaths of Black people. There are entire books and lengthy chapters about the intentional and unintentional neglect and disregard of Black people's minds and bodies throughout the U.S. history, well beyond the Tuskegee experiments. Growing up with a mother who was constantly in need of medical care for complications of lupus, and as a Black woman who has been on the other side as a patient receiving care myself, I have personally experienced how disparate treatment can be. So any Black person who comes to seek health care is justified in having a portion of skepticism that cannot be deemed paranoia. It is an attempt at self-preservation. Oh, my Lord. It is not hard for me to understand how people could believe this vaccine is meant to do some familiar or novel harm to Black people. At the extreme are warnings of Black people being annihilated across the globe as a direct result of getting the vaccine. One patient of mine voiced fears that the vaccine may be good, but perhaps when they see her enter the line as a Black person, someone may say, switch up the vials. Such an idea had never entered my mind, but unfortunately she's not alone in such concerns. Since then, I have heard others echo her concerns. Being a medical professional, her words weighed on me, and I had to wonder how the field of medicine could ever gain the trust of my community. Dr. Arma, I want to thank you. It was such a well-written article on both sides of the spectrum. You actually came down on the end, you said, we went on and on and on, and, you talked about your misgivings about the vaccines and that the trial that led up to the enroll the participant phase 4 came after, and so you initially approached the vaccine with this mindset. And then something happened. So talk to me about where you were at the beginning, as I spoke of in the article that we're reading, and where you are now, and tell us why.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. So I would say that at the very start, I kind of had the same approach that I have about every brand new medication that comes out. Right? And this is not a medication, right? This is a vaccine. But right. That same concept of kind of wait and see how things go. However, the thing is, it's typical that when there's a new medication that's out in the world, it's not saving a ton of lives, right? So there's some medication that's already out there that's helping people. On the other hand, I was actually very early on, back in April, we actually lost a family member to COVID. So I had that personal, very personal connection to just how devastating the COVID-19 pandemic really was. And on top of that, I have a number of patients who've had COVID-19, who've had the coronavirus, and who have really suffered for a long while. So not just, okay, I was sick for a little bit and now I'm done. I had some people who just are starting to recover just a couple of months ago now who got it at the very start. Because I'm here in Connecticut, New York and Connecticut were sort of hit early on and had that experience. So sort of fast forwarding through that time, talking with my patients, I really did notice that there was a stark contrast, not just my patients, my friends, other physicians, other healthcare providers, and a lot of essential workers. I have a lot of family members who are essential workers who are out there, working in a cafeteria, in a hospital, or a phlebotomist, or, in a factory, public transportation, all of these different things where they are getting constantly exposed. And my ears were perking up to hear how others were responding and what people were thinking about getting the vaccine, especially those who had access to it, right? So, we'll talk hopefully about access as well, because this is absolutely not just about the hesitance, but can't talk about everything in one article. So fast forward after hearing that and recognizing, wait, we've been devastated by this as a Black community, and very locally that's been the case. But then I just really started to think about all of my patients who have a tremendous number of risk factors, and the reality that if any of these individuals do actually get COVID, they are very likely to have a poor outcome. And that was what really struck me. I said, I really actually need to dig in, and I need to have the answers. When people ask, I have to have the answers for myself. And then once I did that digging in and said, okay, you know what, absolutely, I need to get this vaccine, I wanted to do it to model for my patients. Because in reality, I could have hid behind the fact that I was working remotely. So I'm working in my home. I don't have to go into the office. And I could say, oh, well, I'm not really getting exposed, so I don't really need to get this vaccine. But that really was me hiding behind the fact that, there is a cautiousness that I as a Black person have and probably really need to have about the medical profession because of my own personal experiences, right? And so I decided that I wanted to also model for my patients and go ahead, get the vaccine, even though I don't have a high level of exposure. And then I jumped another step because of that particular patient who, unfortunately, I've really have heard more and more people call it the Black vaccine. There's probably a white vaccine and a Black vaccine. Having heard her say that, I said, I need to take it a step further. I'm a psychiatrist. I'm an administrator. I could sit in my house, but I said, in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start vaccinating. So my time that I'm usually, taking meetings and, catching up and, doing various things. No, instead, I'm going to be on the other side of that needle so that my patient can come in on that day of the week, schedule her appointment to actually get that vaccine and be able to say, yeah, can I get her to do it? Because I know she trusts me, and there are many others who really do have this hesitance and this fear, and I want them to see more and more Black faces at the other end of it.
You remind me so much of Dr. Ayla Stanford, who is locally here to Philadelphia, who did the same exact thing. She spoke openly about having her hesitation for this vaccine. Not only did she take the vaccination, she gave us updates. So her first shot, she was okay. The second shot, she was sick as a dog. She said for 30 hours, just sick, right? But she didn't hide it from us. She said, look, these are the side effects that could possibly happen for you, and I'm sharing with you, but after a certain period of hours, I was fine. So I'm going to take a quick break, and then I'm going to come back and talk to you about the fact, for the people who are refusing to take the vaccine in the Black and brown communities, what could the adverse effects be over long term versus, just, being okay from not taking the vaccination. Let me take a quick break, and we'll be right back, okay?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Hey, WURD family. Our friends at Amoroso's Baking Company are hiring right now. Amoroso's has been baking the delicious bread in our community for over 100 years, and they want you to join their team today. The old and the young love Amoroso's, and they are hiring right now. Check it out. They offer fair pay and provide health, dental, and prescription plans after 90 days employment. Call 856-754-0355 or visit amorososbaking.com for details.
Recovery starts with a call. Pennsylvania's Substance Use Disorder Hotline is staffed by real people who are trained to help. They're here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They'll get you or your loved one into treatment regardless of your access to insurance. If you or someone you know is suffering from addiction, call 1-800-662-HELP. Recovery starts with a call.
Paid for with Pennsylvania taxpayer dollars.
The WURD Radio newsletter, keeping you informed, engaged, and connected. Sign up by visiting wordradio.com. Scroll to the bottom of the page and type your email address under Connect with Us. You'll receive the latest information on WURD Radio, messages from our president and CEO, Sarah Lomax Reese, exclusive articles and multimedia content, and resources. Stay informed with the WURD Radio newsletter.
WURD Radio is independent black media.
And we're able to stay independent because of our 4WURD movement and members like you.
Treat yourself to the treat of buying a WURD membership. It's less than a quarter a day. That's less than a bag of chips. And we really, truly need to keep this platform going so that we can stay connected as we reimagine our community in 2021.
Start or renew your 4WURD membership today at wordradio.com/4WURD or call 215-425-7875. WURD Radio. Independent black media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on wordradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, I have on the line with me from Connecticut, Dr. Tishiana Arma, MD, who wrote a powerful article that says, Physician on the Fence about the COVID-19 vaccine. I saw it on someone's page and reached out to her. Praise the Lord. I love the connections that I have in this country because it has helped to bring great guests like this on the air. Dr. Tishiana, are you there?
I am.
Okay, so what do you say to people who refuse to take the vaccine in the black and brown communities? And what could the adverse effects be based on the things that you have seen, the long-term haulers, people dying from the vaccine, your own personal, someone that's close to you that died from the virus itself, the long-term haulers from the virus, who got it when it first began, are just now recovering from it. What are the long-term effects you think for people who would refuse to take the vaccine?
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, I have a number of patients who have really had that, what they've been calling it, the long haulers, so the COVID-19 long haulers. Typically, so first of all, obviously, the most severe consequence of not taking the vaccine, right, would be to get COVID-19 and then die. And unfortunately, I have, you don't have to go far to see the statistics on how that is really impacting us. But in terms of my patients and also just what the evidence is showing is that, a lot of people are reporting that they are, after they get past that acute phase of the illness, then afterwards they can end up still having coughing, still having tightness of breath, tightness of the chest, shortness of breath, and diarrhea. I've actually seen a lot of my patients have actually talked about a lot of headache as well. But, even more frightening is the fact that people might have some lung scarring that's causing that shortness of breath, possibly permanently for some people. So I have one patient who now is seeing a pulmonologist, and she got this the virus actually at the very start. Cardiac complications are also possible. Things like arrhythmias, so, abnormal beats of the rhythms of the heart. There can be kidney problems. Some people are reporting some dermatological problems, some various skin problems, and people talk a lot. The two things that I hear the most are people saying that they're just in this fog, like they just cannot
brain fog.
Get out of this fog. And then fatigue, really horrible fatigue. So now some people, as your the physician in your area talked about with the second COVID-19 vaccine, people are saying, they're having a great deal of fatigue. That's nothing compared to what my patients are talking about. And that fatigue, right, goes away within 36 hours. Right. I have patients who have been since April of last year, and they're just starting to feel like they're getting their energy back now in February.
Wow. So it seems to me that we will not know fully but the long-term effects of this virus being led to run amok around the world, and specifically in the United States, is going to cost us in our lives as Americans, and how that would pass on to the children that we're getting ready to give birth to, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And, you know, the other piece that I didn't mention, and I definitely need to since I'm a psychiatrist, is that there's also concern about some psychiatric problems, right? So people feeling depressed and anxious as well. And I'm definitely seeing a significant amount of anxiety for my patients who had COVID-19. Now, also, obviously, some of these folks really were very afraid that they were going to die, right? So that was a real and present danger for them. So it's not unreasonable for them to feel like that. But that's the other piece, is that we're also seeing some psychiatric long-term results, and we really don't know. We don't know how long this is going to last, because we've only been dealing with this since, you know, last year. We really don't know all of the consequences. So just like people talk about, we don't know the consequences of the vaccine, we do, to some extent, really actually recognize very clearly that any of the side effects or problems that people have with the COVID-19 vaccine, it's nothing compared to the long-term effects of having COVID-19, even if you survive it.
Right, and that's the piece. This is why you were so important to me. I had no idea you were a psychiatrist until just now. So then let me ask you this question. I mean, until you got on the air, until I read your bio. There are people who did not get COVID-19 but are having all kinds of long-term effects from mental health issues. In fact, we're seeing emerging reports of young people, 16, 17, 18, early 20s, early 30s, committing suicide. Right? Because of the trauma that has been inflicted upon them. So much so that I have encouraged parents of grown children and children that are not so grown to pay special attention to what's going on with their children in the home. What do you have to add to that for us in terms of what can we do? Because, in fact, I read another report that said even the providers, the mental health providers, need mental health themselves, right? Because of what's been going on with COVID. So what advice do you have for us around that?
Oh, we could talk for hours about that. So, so first of all, absolutely, this has been the case for a number of reasons, right? One, people are stuck and shut in because, you know, we don't have a handle on this virus. People have lost jobs. There's a significant amount of economic woes that people are dealing with, right? Many people have talked about it being a multiple pandemic, right? It's, you know, the racial tension, the economic, all of these other things. So there's that piece. People are also just, you know, obviously anxious and concerned. I have people who haven't left their home. They're so afraid that they are going to get this virus. They've either lost people already to it, or they haven't, but just the every time they turn on the news, they turn on anything, they're hearing more and more of this really, really negative information about the reality of what's happening in this world. So I'll tell you, actually, you know, I saw patients all morning, and one of the patients was in that same circumstance. And one of the things a small tip, you know, just practical, is to have some times where you do sort of a news holiday. So, you know, don't start your morning with listening to the news, end your day listening to it, you know, all throughout the day you're watching it. Sort of try and center yourself first before you dive into all of this information. But you need to also stay informed, right? So you can sort of manage your time so that you're not constantly in a state of alert, right? Because people are on high alert constantly now. So if we're able to do some things that will really sort of mitigate that a bit so that we're not being constantly inundated with that. But then there's a bunch of different things that people can do to cope. One thing for me is to write. So, I mean, after you know, listening to all that was going on, I immediately just said, you know what, it's going to be therapeutic for me to just put this on paper. Like, I want to help people. This is also a piece of therapy for me. I need to voice my concerns. I'm about to write again because there were two concerns that I was having. One was the fact that I knew there were people who were hesitant, but also a concern around access and who I was seeing come pulling into our driveway, right?
Lord,
because my patients come in, okay? My patients come in on foot. They come in on the bus, and sometimes, some of them come driving. However, they're not driving these luxury vehicles that I saw coming all day long. The day that I got my vaccine, I decided to sit in the parking lot so I can, my children are at home for school. Everybody's in the house. I said, I'm going to take this morning. I'm going to sit in my car, and I'm going to work from my car for the whole morning, before and after I get my vaccines. I was there all morning long until early afternoon, and I didn't see my patients. That's not who I saw coming in to get the vaccine. I was the only brown face I saw that morning. Okay.
And guess what? What you're talking about was codified in a recent data report from the federal government that only 5% of black and brown people were able to get the vaccines of the amount that were distributed, and over 60% of the people were white. So
exactly.
The disparities are so glaring, and quite frankly, even here in Philadelphia, when we go to get ours, we see all kinds of people in line that we know don't live anywhere in our communities. So how are we able to? How do we manage that? And then for those who have the ulterior motives, will then say far too many of us don't want to take the vaccines, and so they're coming into our communities to get the vaccines that we're not going to show up to take. You see where this is going?
And that's the thing. I recognize that it's a multifactorial problem. And while I realize that hesitancy is a portion, I actually think it's a far the far greater problem is around access. So access to things like information, right? So people are constantly putting that word out there, the digital divide. For our city, you have to sign up on, or actually our state, you have to sign up online, register, you get an email. So you have to have an email address, right? Then after that, then they're going to send you in the email another message so that you can schedule your appointment. Right there, you've built up a bunch of barriers to a whole lot of people getting that vaccine. Next is transportation. Sometimes some of these places may be a little bit out of the way. We're fortunate. We're really trying as much as possible to have things right, sort of central. But even for where we're trying to do some mass vaccinations all throughout the country, I'm sure you got to kind of think outside the box and figure out how to get people to those locations to get the vaccine. So whether that means, churches who are getting involved, getting folks in a bus or something like that, or actually just coming around, being at the church, being available at the church to do the vaccine. But then not just that, what about time off? How many of the people who really need to get this really actually have the freedom to take time off from work to say, okay, well, I have to schedule this. I know patients who have many times had to miss an appointment because they just don't even have that kind of flexibility. No, they called me and I got to do it. I got to make this money because I've been out of work for a while. Right. So we really have to factor in some of these obstacles that people have, because there are a great deal of people who are ready and want to get the vaccine, but they're not able to. And here's the other piece. We need to prioritize allowing the essential workers, right? And, for instance, the grocery staff worker, the grocery store workers, or the food service workers, public transportation, all these folks, they're not yet eligible.
Yes.
Right. So we have older people, we have healthcare workers, but all these folks are right there front line. They are making it so that people can still go to work, that people can still go to school, but yet they have not been prioritized, and we are overrepresented as Black people in those fields. So that is going to play a huge role in why those numbers are so low. Now, I will say that the one caveat, I think I've seen it with my eyes, but the one caveat around the data that came out through the CDC is that only 51.9% of the recipients actually reported their race and ethnicity. So it's not just because nothing was being collected, because those same folks, it was 99 and 97% who gave information about their sex and about their age, but excluded that. So now here we have this data that doesn't give a clear picture, but still clearly, I mean, how do you compare 60% to 5%?
To 5%. Yes. Yeah, it's crazy.
Right?
We have someone on our Facebook page that says, please explain what will happen if you don't take the vaccine.
So if a person doesn't take the vaccine, they are, okay, so let's put it this way. If a person takes the vaccine, then they have about a 95% chance for either the COVID or, either the Pfizer or the Moderna vaccine, about a 95% chance that they will not get the virus. So if they happen to be exposed, then the likelihood of them getting the virus is low. And then if by any chance they're part of that small percentage who actually will still then get the virus, it is very, very likely that the symptoms would be far less severe than if you had gotten the vaccine. So it's in reverse, right? So if you do not get the vaccine and then you get exposed to someone who has the has the coronavirus and you get COVID-19, then you are susceptible to ending up having the virus, feeling short of breath, feeling incredibly fatigued, being really honestly fearful that you're not going to live another day, and a lot of really sudden deaths. That's the risk of not getting the vaccine.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for explaining that for them. I'm going to take another quick break, and then when we come back, I'd like to ask you what cause of concern should we have regarding side effects or the efficacy, because not only do we have the Pfizer and the Moderna, Johnson & Johnson right now, let me just share this with you, in the city of Philadelphia. It says, city revamps data info, Johnson & Johnson vaccine could arrive in the city of Philadelphia by March 1st, and so they will begin releasing details about the distribution of COVID-19 vaccine. The Pennsylvania Department of Health has been publishing detailed figures on the vaccine rollout, but since Philadelphia receives their vaccines directly from the CDC, they were not included in the state's count, and so Philadelphia County gets shipments separately from Pennsylvania's 66 other counties, but Philly Health Commissioner says an approved Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which is one dose, could be right here in Philadelphia on March 1st. So then my question then becomes, what cause of concern should we have about side effects or the efficacy because of the different vaccinations that are coming out here? Can you hold on one second for me, please?
Absolutely.
All right, hold on. Thank you. WURD is committed to keeping Black history alive and ensuring that our voices are heard. Each February, we honor I don't know what is going on with my tongue twister voice today. Each February, we honor Black history, and each day we are committed to making Black history. WURD is the only Black-owned and operated station in Pennsylvania. We serve our community by providing information to educate, uplift, and inspire our listeners. Make your mark in Black history now. Join or renew your forward membership today. Go to our website and leave your mark, and let us know your favorite show by selecting the name of the show at checkout. Please visit wordradio.com/join now for more information. The code for this radio show is Andrea, ANDREA. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on wordradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Happy New Year, Philly. It's Solomon Jones. The pandemic of 2020 blew the roof off of life as we know it and forced us to make radical decisions once thought impossible. Many parents and grandparents turned to the option of a public cyber education. In thousands of instances, they sought assistance from the one true pioneer and industry leader in public cyber education, Commonwealth Charter Academy. Visit ccaeducate.me and exercise your right to choose a safe, hassle-free, student-focused learning environment your kids deserve. CCA delivers delivers elite online instruction streamed directly to the safety and comfort of your living room. They provide a laptop and headset along with internet connectivity that includes financial assistance, all at no cost to families. CCA has been the gold standard in school choice for nearly 20 years. Visit ccaeducate.me and ring in 2021 with a 5-star learning experience. Again, that's ccaeducate.me.
Hi, this is John.
Hi, this is Juanita, owners of JD's Auto Body and Painting. We're located at 6300 Wayne Avenue, right there at the intersection of Wayne and Washington Lane.
We really like to thank all you WURD listeners for the support that you've given our business, and we really hope to see you in the future.
JD, tell them about our products and services we have.
We have a new state-of-the-art paint shop along with our body shop and detail shop. We can help you with the dents and scratches from the winter season.
Come to JD's Auto Body and Painting. Come on out and check us out. We're still honoring that WURD 10% discount. Give us a call, 215-848-5949. Again, 215-848-5949.
Thanks again for supporting our business. We really appreciate you.
See you at JD's Auto Body and Painting.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, I have on the line with me Dr. Tishiana Arama, MD, who is a psychologist and a fabulous guest, giving us all the knowledge we could possibly need about taking the COVID-19 vaccine versus not taking it, the devastation in the Black and brown communities, and on and on. And so when we left, I asked her one last question, which was, what cause of concern should we have regarding side effects or the efficacy of these vaccines among the different pharmaceutical companies?
Right. So I had mentioned about the 95% efficacy for the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine is, as you said, one dose, and it's more like 66% is the efficacy of that. And they have some higher numbers in the 80s when you look at it being, if you get COVID-19, being less severe. So some people are more attuned to getting that one because it's one dose and because it is not an mRNA vaccine. So, you know, that's
what is an mRNA vaccine? What does that mean for the people who are listening?
Absolutely, absolutely. So what that means is that, okay, so one of the things that people have been sort of worried about is, oh my goodness, they hear this, you know, kind of sounds like the word DNA. Is this going to change my DNA? So no, this is not something. This is not something that actually goes into the core part of our cells. So we are made up of all these cells, and in our cells we have these something called the nucleus, which is where our DNA is. So that's like the basic component of our lives. And so the messenger RNA or the mRNA is basically sort of, you know, that word messenger. It's like a messenger system. Okay, so we're going to help the body to make a particular protein. We're going to send the message about how to make a protein, and that particular protein is the spike protein that's found on the outside of the virus. So without that little protein to connect, so that your body can then actually duplicate the virus, without that, we don't end up getting the virus. So what happens is the vaccine is making this protein, exposes our body to the virus by exposing, not to the virus, sorry, to this protein, and thus not having to be exposed to the virus. Us just being exposed to the protein allows our body to build a defense and to say, hey, this thing doesn't belong here. So if the next time we see this, so the next time when we get exposed to the virus, we see this little protein, we're going to go and attack it. Now, the great thing is that this particular the vaccine, the reason why it needs to be really cold, so you might have heard about refrigeration and all these kinds of things, the reason why is because it's very, very fragile. And the reason for that is that, you know, by it being very fragile, it's not going to end up staying in the body. So after it does the work that it needs to do so that our bodies are, you know, can recognize the protein, The messenger RNA actually breaks down, and we're done with it. So it actually doesn't hang out. It doesn't stick around. It's not going to be changing the composition of our cells and our bodies. It really is just there to create the message, get the body moving, and get the body set up to respond if ever we are then exposed to the virus.
Got it.
So that's in terms of that piece of it, right? Then the other question that you had asked was around what are some of the side effects, right? So there are side effects to the vaccine that people can have. I'll tell you from my own personal experience. With the first one, I had my arm felt heavy, my arm where I got it, and painful. Actually pretty painful. And I usually get a little bit of pain with the flu vaccine. I have more pain with this one. I usually will do it in my left hand instead of my right. I made the mistake of doing it on my right. So I will make sure not to do it on my right next time. And the other things that some people can have, and I didn't have any of the rest of it, people could have headaches. They could have some fatigue. They can have some muscle and joint ache. They can have fevers. And the fatigue really can hit people. And for the most part, I've really only heard it with the second vaccine, which I get this week.
Okay, so you haven't gotten your second shot yet. Okay.
I haven't, but every person that I know nearby has had it and felt like, whoa, they felt like they were just hit like a switch all of a sudden with that fatigue. And so I took the day off for that so that I could be, but it goes away within 36 hours. So right. So as opposed to my patient who, for 6 months plus was with this, extreme fatigue and headache, the possibility of having that, just for those 36 hours and right back to work. And I just think it's really interesting. One thing that I did find was, in addition to the CDC information about the rates of vaccines, I looked at some of the state data and saw that in Pennsylvania, it showed that while you're 11% of the population, you're also 14%, black folks are 14% of the cases and 12% of the deaths, but we're only 3% of the vaccinations that have been done. That's in comparison to 92% of white people in the state who have been vaccinated, while really they actually make up 80%. So they're actually over their population percentage, and we are drastically below. But I think, again, like I said before, completely multifactorial, and not just because we're not game to get it. We really have to be working together as a community to make sure that people are informed on how they can get it, and then really, asking and making people accountable, whether it's our state, our governors, and our legislators, and the places where we're going to get our care. The people who are doing these vaccines, we've got to make sure that there are alliances and that folks are honestly, that it is prioritized that the black community is getting vaccinated. Otherwise, we're never going to see a difference in those percentages.
Okay, so one more question. Lucy Lou, I want to know, do you have to get it each year, or is it a one-time thing? My gut instinct is that you're going to say we have to get it each year, like the flu vaccine, right?
So we don't know yet. So we're still looking at. Remember, this has not been out for for that long. So because of that, there's two things that we're doing. One is we're looking to see, with that last question, it kind of relates in that we're still looking to get continued data. So every week I opted to give information about how I'm doing. Each week I get a little text message to ask me, how are you doing, right? So in terms of side effects. But similarly, in terms of how long are people going to maintain that immunity, we still are trying to find that information out. What we've seen that if someone does get COVID, if they do have that virus, then what happens is it doesn't look like they will get it again within 90 days, but it's not without reason that one can get it again, even after getting it. I actually do have one patient who the primary care provider has confirmed that she's gotten it 2 times.
Yes.
And really didn't do well. But in terms of actually with getting the vaccine, we're still looking at how long, how many years is that, years or months is that going to actually help us to continue to have that immunity. So that's going to be ongoing information just because we don't have the benefit of the time yet to see.
Can you do me a favor? Can I have you come back on for us to talk a little bit more? My show ends in exactly 4 minutes. So this was such a good interview, and you explain, what this has been. So thank you so much.
I would love to. And you know what? I
Yes.
have a lot of family over there in Philly and in Philadelphia, and I used to, spend a lot of time on Ruby Street. So,
on.
Coming from.
So you like family then? You're literally like family over here.
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
I will happy to come again. This was such a pleasure. I enjoyed listening beforehand. I've already gone ahead and liked the page. I want to keep hearing you.
Yeah, thank you so much. You have a wonderful afternoon, and thank you for interviewing with us, okay?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Oh my goodness, that was such a good interview. Listen, we're not always going to agree, and it is good that we have great places to reach out to folks so that you can make the goal here is not to change your mind or make you feel that you have to do anything you don't want to do. The goal is to give you the information, and then you make the informed decision on your own. I say we live and die by experiences, and I am not kidding. Experience is still the greatest teacher there is. My husband and I had to sit down and think about exactly what would happen if we did not take the vaccine. I knew for a fact that if my husband got the virus, he was going to die. And so for us, it was not a, well, we can't, we shouldn't. And quite frankly, we still have our misgivings. We get our second shot next week. And we're hunkering down. I'm making my good old Jamaican soup and hunkering down to go through 35 hours of whatever it is that we may possibly experience. But as it applies to our mental health, I want to say this before I get off the air. I have to absorb a good amount of news every single day. Sometimes I look at my husband and I go, I can't. So we have come up with a plan. Before we go to sleep each and every night, we put on something like Everybody Hates Chris or the Bernie Mac show, and we go to bed laughing and we wake up laughing, right? So that it isn't all gloom and doom every single day as we move about our business. We're also very intentional about checking in on family members and taking care of each other and making sure that, we keep in touch with people we wouldn't ordinarily see and talk to on a regular basis. The goal for us is to make it through this, right? With your experience, you can. Some people may never take the vaccine and be okay. Some people may never take the vaccine and end up losing their lives from it. The goal, the ultimate objective is that it belongs to you. The responsibility belongs to you and you alone. And as you hear from this doctor, you've heard all of us say from time to time that are black and brown, that we understand what has happened to us in the medical industry. We understand where this is going. Excuse me. And so, yes, we have a lot of hesitancy. But we're also following the science as much as we possibly can so that we can stay here to do what needs to be done. I want to be a grandmother. I want to see my grandchildren. I want to live to a ripe old age to the best of my ability. And yes, I could die at any time for something else, but I don't want to die when I could have done better to make sure that it didn't happen to me. Coming up next is Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Michael and Brianna, thank you. This is my second day of a long week. I've been sitting in front of this computer since 7:30 this morning. I will be sitting here until Lord knows when. And I'm exhausted at the end of each day. But again, it's for the benefit of what happens to our people here in the city and the Commonwealth. So I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.